All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Monday, August 3rd, pre-primary day, 2026. My name is Rob Carter. Welcome to the future. #1 podcast in America. Busy day today.
Busy day.
If you didn't see our promo, we have Taylor Burks at 9:30. He's running against Rick Bratton for U.S. Congress. At 10 o'clock, we'll have a grassroots roundtable. We added one to it, so we should have People's Lobby Missouri in there. You and I are People's Lobby Missouri. Yep. We'll bring in Travis Hines from People's Lobby Missouri. We'll have Josh Lehman from Rhino Watch. We'll have Amy Castro and Michael Compton from Act 4 Missouri. At 11 o'clock, we have Deputy Political Director of Missouri's GOP, Colton Tausig. He is in favor of A5. We want to see what he has to say. Then we have a young guy by the name of John Casey. He is running against Eric Burleson for U.S. Congress. We had him on the radio show at one time, and I found him very charming. He's fighting hard. I think he's a Marine, and I just want to see how the GOP has welcomed him. What kind of information he has on his campaign, because Eric Burleson, I'm sure, has a lot of support in Missouri. And then we have Ryan Hagedorn, who is endorsed by Matt Gaetz, former Florida congressman, and he's all over the place with social media. You've been checking him out? I can't go through.
Oh, yeah. He had a viral video about data centers.
Yeah, that's right. Right. He's made a lot of headway on social media. I got to think he's the odds-on favorite. I got to figure out where his campaign is when we talk to him today. But Ryan Hagedorn, young guy, he'll be on at 11:45. So we got 9:30, Taylor Burks. 10 o'clock, the grassroots roundtable. 11 o'clock, Deputy Political Director of Missouri's GOP, Colton Tausig. At 11:30, John Casey, and at 11:45, Ryan Hagedorn. So I know you're not feeling well, Isaiah. We have a lot to get through. All Missouri politics today.
Yeah.
All Missouri politics. Are you
taking some Dayquil?
No doubt you'll be tired before we get this
thing.
What is your take on what you're hearing from friends and family on these amendments? Let's just start with 3. We'll do a little bit more in-depth detail when we get to the roundtable discussion. But what is your take on Missouri Amendment 3? This would put into the Constitution exceptions on abortion for fetal anomalies, life of the mother, rape and incest, and then it will supposedly do a lot of good things to save babies. What is your take on Amendment 3?
Yeah. Right now, I'm a 50-50 on Amendment 3. We have some time until November, though, when we vote on it. So I think there's a lot more education that we'll have with the show, bringing people on between August and November to where it'll help me formulate a solid opinion. But I think there's good arguments on both sides. I think it's a step in the right direction, as we've heard many times. We talked to Susan Klein, right? Yep. And it is a step in the right direction. I don't think anyone, says that it's not. But is it enough? That's what a lot of people are asking, right?
A lot of people just don't want to put into the Constitution a separate class of people that can be aborted. I think that is
that's
moral,
especially if it's in the Constitution, right? It's different if it's a statute versus a constitutional amendment are very different things, right? And so if it's enshrined in the Constitution of Missouri, that's a bigger deal. And I don't think people want to see all those things that you mentioned. I don't think people want to see that in the Constitution as something that people can tap into to go around it. You know what I mean? Because we've seen that happen with all kinds of different constitutional amendments, right? They always put in these, as we're talking about with 5, they always put in these kind of loopholes where they can get out of different things using legalese and legal language and
Yeah,
things
that's
like
kind
that.
of where I'm at with a lot of this stuff. I'll give my opinion. I'll make a statement on A4. We'll put that onto social media a little bit later on today on A4. I had a lady that's a listener of the old radio show. I don't know if she pays attention to the podcast anymore. She sent me a text this morning, and she said, "I'm a yes on 4. It prevents mob rule." I'll give you my opinion on Amendment 4 later on today. I'll put something out onto social media.
Mhm.
What's your take on Amendment 4? Where are you at on it right now?
Yeah, so it's a, from what I'm seeing, talking to people, sorry, I'm so sick, got my nose running, but 50-50 across the grassroots, 100% for the establishment Republicans. And,
Doesn't that tell you something?
yeah, and the Democrats are completely against it, and so that's something that I think is a hard thing to overcome when you have some Republican grassroots conservatives that are against it and the Democrats are against it. It's going to be hard to get that across the finish line. But I understand the arguments, as we've talked about many times in the show, Rob. I get it. I understand where people are coming from. I just wish it was 6 out of 8 congressional districts. If it was that, it'd be a 100% yes for me. And that's the only hesitation I have. And I think that's what Lisa Panette says makes her a little concerned, right? But that's why she's a yes, is she understands where they're coming from as well.
And why not? Why not make the raise the bar for the General Assembly?
Exactly. I think it should be an equal playing ground. I don't think, we elect them. They work for us, and so they're representing us. Yes,
They're not adjusting the elections either, Isaiah. This is the problem that people like I have. I don't trust the elections, and I think a lot of people in Missouri and around the country do not trust the elections. So if you don't trust the elections and then you're taking power away from the people to get anything done, to put anything on the ballot, because you're not going to get 8 out of 8 voting districts to agree on today being Monday. So that you're basically eliminating the process. No, I mean, I want
to out those, the arguments that, hey, this wouldn't have passed, this wouldn't have passed, this wouldn't, different things that, different amendments and things that have been put forth that wouldn't have passed if this was the setup before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have trust issues, Isaiah.
Why don't you trust the legislature, Rob? Come on.
It is what it is. Amendment 5.
Hard, as Brian Wolfman says, hell no. I loved that. And so I'm a big no on this. I think you probably saw my article I put out about Rex, the video that we put out there on the Rob Carter Show Facebook page.
A little bit of traction. How do people find that? Because I thought that was really good. You sent that to me, and I thought, oh, this is really good because it's easy to understand, and it kind of shows you the structure of Missouri politics. There's a couple of organizations and a couple of people that really run GOP politics in the state of Missouri. You see all of these people that I would call, not all of them, but a lot of them are just puppets for these organizations. And if this organization wants to get rid of income taxes, they all fall in line for income taxes. If they want to get rid of abortion, they all fall in line with getting rid of abortion or keeping abortion or have a portion of abortion. There's big, powerful forces in the state of Missouri that actually run Missouri politics. We just get to see the front people, the lead singers, the Milli Vanillis, which are the Republican puppets. And it aggravates me that they think that we don't recognize that. And then they attack you as though you're doing the same thing. And it just frustrates me. I'm not going to get mad at them. I mean, it is what it is. But
I'm getting attacked because it's like, why aren't you exposing George Soros and his? We already know about that. Okay, that's not. We already know he's doing that. Not as many people are aware of who Rex is and what he's been doing for 20 years, and what his mission has been to eliminate income tax, and then how he backed Governor Kehoe to get elected as governor. And now Governor Kehoe gets elected as governor. And what is his number one priority that he says at the state of the state? It's to eliminate income tax.
And what do you see, Isaiah? I don't really have a problem with big money. If I'm a billionaire and I have big money and I want to influence politics in the state that I live in, I personally don't have a problem with it, because a lot of people have come out in the past and given me a little bit of trouble, especially when I was on the radio. Hey, you're not talking about the Blunt family. You're not talking about Rex. You're not talking about the Herzogs. Listen, I know. I understand where you're coming from. I just want to give you my take on it. If I have money we want money to influence politics. We're trying to raise money right now for People's Lobby Missouri, Act for Missouri, the Shield Maidens, Rhino Watch. We're trying to raise money so that we can get our message out to accomplish things that we think are important in the state of Missouri.
Because it seems that's the only way to get things done.
It's the only way to get things done with the system they put before us, with the PAC money and money coming from all over the place. You can't even track it. And then all of a sudden big money gets whatever they want. I don't necessarily have a problem with big money trying to influence politics. I have a problem with the politicians. That's who works for me. If Rex is trying to influence politics because he wants to get rid of the state income tax for whatever reasons that may benefit him or whether he thinks it's best for society or the state of Missouri, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with people that just adopt his opinion because they think they're going to get some incentive, whether it be through PAC money or through campaign donations, through um, parachutes at the end when they get out of office. Those things aggravate me because now you're not a free thinking person. You're a person that's on the take, regardless of whether you might agree on one particular position. What ends up happening is you may say, well, Rob, there's nothing wrong with taking money from these people. If I agree with that position, I get you. But if you watch over time, you agree with all of the positions, and that I don't agree with. I don't think you're ever going to agree with all of the opinions. What are you laughing at? Happy
that you're it's wow, you all of a sudden you agree with all of their opinions. That's so funny to me, right? It's like, oh wow, you got money for this opinion. Now you agree with every opinion that comes down the line. Man,
it certainly appears that's what's going on.
Interesting.
What do you think of, because we'll bring in the grassroots roundtable at 10 o'clock. What do you think of the back and forth now between former Speaker of the House, Tim Jones, and Jake Jackson, Gail Griswold, who does Missouri, I think it's Education Watch on X, and I'm watching this back and forth. It's getting very heated. Yeah. And Tim Jones is very aggressive now with certain people, and people on social media are capturing his responses on social media and reposting them and saying, hey, is this the leader of the Freedom Caucus in the state of Missouri? What's going on here? What is your take on just the back and forth? Again, I want to give you my opinion, and then I want you to respond to it. When I see these types of things, this is, in my opinion, is the direct result of the way Donald Trump has fought against the establishment. Now he is dead on board with the establishment, in my opinion. I think he's right in line with the establishment. Either could be for show, could be 5D chess. I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying he is now aligned verbally and through policy with the establishment that we thought we were fighting against. That's just a fact. You can look at the legislation that's coming forward. You can look at what he is advocating for, and they're now on the same team. Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, all these people that he supposedly was against, he's now right in line with them. I think the way in which Donald Trump humiliated, embarrassed, challenged the establishment now has this entire group of people that were influenced by Donald Trump and his rhetoric and the way he attacked back when he was attacked. I now see that as a methodology within certain MAGA groups or people that say they're MAGA groups in the state of Missouri. And I don't know what to make of it. I think it may be, the cat may be out of the bag, as they say. I don't know that it's a good look for politicians to attack grandmothers and to attack young conservatives. I don't know that that's a good look. I don't know that it helps you. But I don't see that anybody in the Republican Party is coming out to speak against Tim Jones.
Well, we always talk about, the closetocracy and those folks. And one of those members is Roger Stone. And do you know what, one of the main political ideologies that Roger Stone preaches to people is attack, 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 never defend. And that is exactly what he taught President Trump: to attack, attack, attack. You never defend. All you do is you just attack, you attack, and you attack. You don't have to defend if you're just continually throwing these attacks out that are, oh, you did this and you did this. People don't have time to chase all these different things. You know what I mean? And they're not going to look into any defenses. They're just looking into, oh my gosh, look at this sensationalism that's happening. And that's what I think is the strategy here, is to just attack, 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 to undercut people, to make them look like they don't know what they're talking about, or to discredit them, or ulterior motives and things like that. And so that is a political strategy. That is not organic.
I'm watching how they frame the arguments. And this is the part where, I am skilled at this type of conversation. It's just something that I understand. I'm good at it. I recognize it really well. And when I watch these people debate me on social media, what you'll notice, Isaiah, is I have engaged with all of these people on social media, and they don't debate with me. Have you noticed that? Like, it's been going on for months where they'll attack me. They'll come on to anything that I've responded to on social media, and then they'll throw out these little dingers that they think,
"You're from Florida."
Yeah, that is meant to diminish my opinion. And then I'll say, no, this is what I see. Boom, 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 boom. Can you answer that question? And none of them do. And that is what really scares me about what's going on in the state of Missouri. I should be on the same side as conservatives and these MAGA people. I should be on the same team with them. So when I ask them a question about A5 and they refuse to answer it, if I ask them a question about A4 and they refuse to answer it, it just leads me to believe that they have a motive to get A4 and A5 passed that is not the motive that it should be, which is protecting the people of Missouri. If you can't defend your position past, uh, 1 or 2 degrees, then what are we doing here? The questions that I ask these people that they don't answer. Number one on A5 is, I was going back and forth with Bishop Davidson over the weekend, and he's not understanding where I'm coming from. He is, I don't think anyway, when I'm going back and forth with him on text, and he is trying to advocate for A5. I say, look, I think your framework is good. Now, I don't know if this will, the language will change. I don't know if future general assemblies might change things a little bit or add or subtract to anything in the future. But your framework for me is fine. I don't have a problem with your framework, Bishop or Ben Keithley. What I have a problem with is you're not telling us who you're going to tax and at what rate. Period. That's it. That's the one stumbling point, because if you don't recognize that there's a lack of trust within the GOP voting base, then you got your head in the sand. There is a strict problem with trust that you must address. If you don't address that, then you're never going to win over the grassroots. So you must recognize that there's a trust issue and then solve that trust issue by being transparent. It is not transparent to give us a framework and tell us nothing about how you're going to implement it. That requires trust on our end, and you don't have any trust from us. What is so hard for that? Why don't the people on the other side just simply address that question? They won't do it. It's been going on for months.
What Bishop Davidson did tell me is, he's like, well, look at what we've done for them. We've done so much for them. Can't they just look at what we've done and see? And I say, yeah, we've seen what you've done. You forced a gas tax on us here in Franklin County. You forced a presiding commissioner on us that we didn't want, and you shoved it down our throats.
SB4.
Yeah, SB4,
the stadium bill.
Exactly.
If you're conservative, now again, I hold my opinions tight when it comes to abortion. I'm against abortion, but as far as legalities, look what they did with the abortion issue. I mean, the Republicans had everything they needed to eliminate abortion in the state of Missouri. They don't want to eliminate abortion in the state of Missouri. I just don't think that they do. I think that what they want is the issue. It's that simple. They want the issue. They're going to continue to make money off of the issue because they know that the churches get involved. They know the conservatives. They know the evangelicals get involved, and they donate money because they don't like abortion. And if you solve abortion, the money dries up. And I just think that's obvious. It seems obvious.
It's like the military-industrial complex, right? It's the abortion industrial complex, essentially.
Yes. There's big money to be made. And then when you go to A4, my argument is that it might be a necessary evil because big out-of-state money is coming in and influencing our Constitution. But it goes on the ballot. We get to vote on it. Right? I mean, we get to vote on it. We're just saying, hey, we don't like what you're doing, so we want the people of Missouri to vote on it, and they put it on the ballot. Now, it may not go your way because more money is coming in to influence the opinion of people, but you have to counteract that. That's what elections are about, in my opinion. So to raise the bar for citizens that they must have 50+1 in all 8 voting districts while not changing anything within the General Assembly is a shift of power. So ultimately, what I see going on in Missouri right now within the GOP is they have the secrets of the House. They pick their Speaker of the House before that House member has been reelected, which is crazy. They attack anybody who disagrees with their rhino philosophy and then call us rhinos for splitting the Republican Party, which is really not a part. That's another thing I want to ask these people, especially with the Missouri ground roots, if they're listening, the grassroots people. Why do you identify as a Republican now? I mean,
I would say for me,
I want to ask anybody in the Republican Party or any of these people in the grassroots, how many people do you identify as aligning with your ideology in the Missouri GOP? How many? And name them for me. Just say, okay, let's go through whether 164 House reps, Isaiah, and 34 senators. So of the Republicans in the House and the Senate, how many, just make the list right now if you're listening, just make the list of the people that you agree with. If it's 5%, if it's 10%, if it's 2%, then what party are you in favor of? If only 5% of the Republican Party you align with, then it's really not your party anymore. And I don't know how you can't see that. Go ahead, Isaiah.
No, I was going to say my view of it right now is that everything that's written in the Republican Party platform, I agree with. and you would agree with what's
most part, yeah.
written, right?
Right.
What's written down. And the problem is what's written down for the party and the values and things that you have to align with isn't necessarily what they practice. And that's the problem. That's the problem we talked about the Missouri GOP when I had done that vetting, if you remember.
Mhm.
And is that it's like, man, they're asking me questions that do I agree with these things? And I know that they don't agree with this, even though they're trying to make sure that I agree with it. And so I think that's the issue that I think a lot of the grassroots conservatives are having. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everyone. That's the issue I have, is that what you're saying and what you're doing are two different things, similar to what President Trump, I feel, is doing. I know people might disagree and say he's doing 5D chess and things like that. I understand. But that's just what it seems like to me, Rob. And I want the Republican Party to be saved if possible. I just don't know if it's possible. And clearly, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, it seems that they don't think it's possible because they just did their meeting with all together to try to launch a new party, it looks like. So we'll see what comes of that.
Can I just play a couple of reasons why there's no trust for anybody that might be listening? Because of Taylor Burke's coming on, we've got this young guy from the GOP coming on. We have John Casey coming on. We have Ryan Hagedorn coming on. Let me just play just a couple clips that we keep for all time. They never go away. They stay in my sound forever. Here is Denny Hoskins. Now, this is why I just went for the Republican Party. This is why you don't have trust. It's very simple. I want you to pay attention very closely because this is very simple. This is why you don't have trust. People that pay attention to what goes on in Missouri do not have faith in the Republican Party. So why are we aligning with the Republican Party? Why are we putting signs up and just keeping all of our eggs in the Republican Party basket when they're not doing anything that we like? All right, let's start with Denny Hoskins. Now, Denny Hoskins, the first person and the only person up until this election that I ever endorsed, and I endorsed him because he said he wanted to get rid of electronic voting systems in the state of Missouri. You don't believe me?
And I appreciate the endorsement from Senator Eigel for my Secretary of State's race. As your next Secretary of State, I agree with Senator Eigel that we need to get rid of the machines.
Now, I just ask, if you're running an election and you're one of your talking points is that you want to get rid of electronic voting machines, and you become the Secretary of State in Missouri, and then the Republican Party, you want a statewide election, and then the Republican Party does nothing to help you. As he said to me on my show when I was on the radio, he said, I just need help from the legislature. Did you get any help? Did you get any help, Denny? No, you didn't get any help. In fact, they cut your budget. We're still using machines. Nothing has changed, despite the fact that that is why you were elected. That's why the grassroots and myself endorsed you, was to get rid of the voting machines. You don't believe me?
And I appreciate the endorsement from Senator Eigel for my Secretary of State's race. As your next Secretary of State, I agree with Senator Eigel that we need to get rid of the machines.
I agree.
I don't think you're going to hear that on 97.1 or 93.3.
We didn't get rid of the machines, Isaiah. We did not get rid of the machines. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that Donna just said that she's going to have to put her ballot in a machine that she doesn't trust. She said that earlier.
Exactly. Let's go to Bryant Wolfen. Now, Bryant Wolfen, I contend, is the most talented person in state politics right now, bar none. I don't think there's a more talented person at any age than Bryant Wolfen. So when you just look at pure talent, it doesn't matter whether you agree with everything that Bryant does or says or anything else. Pure talent, the ability to communicate with anybody, the ability to look his constituents in the eye and take account for every vote that he takes, telling us that nothing good really happens in the Missouri General Assembly is something that stuck with me. And listen to what he says right here and tell me how you align with I'm not saying we should be voting for Democrats. I think both parties are terrible. I'm just saying, why are we aligning with the Republicans? Why is there this block everybody from the Democrat Party? Let's not even talk to them. Let's not have a conversation with them because it's only Republicans. We don't align with the Republican Party anyway. Here is Bryant Wolfen.
When we don't have a say, your representative, so like the people of the People's Lobby, like your representative doesn't really have a say in this building. They're not representing you.
What part is did he stumble, Isaiah?
Right.
We're not representing you. So why do we even care at some level until we change the system? That's what we talk with Act for Missouri about every Thursday at 10:30. This is a system-wide issue. So if people don't address the system, nothing is ever going to change.
Mhm.
And I think that they like the system. I think some of these so-called grassroots operations really like this system because they got big money coming in from the big
Yep.
money donors we talked about earlier. It's a way to go out and fight for particular issues. You get all these people coming in to knock on doors for you and to give their social media accounts of what they think is good or bad. And it's a money-making operation. It's not a government. It's just
Yeah.
a money-making operation. It just is. And it's frustrating. I'll debate that with anybody that wants to debate that with me publicly. I'll put my ass on the line, and I would like to have that conversation with you as to whether this is a system issue or a party issue. I say it's a system issue. I
Mhm.
say the parties are irrelevant so long as big donor money controls the agenda. That's not a government of, by, and for the people. That's a government of, by, and for wealthy people, Isaiah.
Yeah.
And that
I
is
got
not
a great text here from John Grady that I'll read to everyone. He said, in an election, it's only Republican or Democrat you get to choose. So you have to choose, then stay with your principles. So essentially what he's saying is that you have to choose one or the other, and that's all you get.
I'd
And
say, but I don't
who aligns with your principles the most, right? It's like,
I
well,
look
I
at
guess I'm
I
going to
look at
vote for the
these people
Republican because
I look
they
at
align.
yeah, I look at it as people, not party. I don't even
Exactly.
the party. I don't even see it. I don't even here's the problem with the world. You ready?
This is a great one.
Let's take it to the federal government. And I ask everybody to disagree with me or agree with me. You tell me what you think. If we took the labels off of everybody, there is no such thing as Democrat or Republican. We live in an authoritarian world with a government. No Democrats, no Republicans. It's just a government. And they allowed that government, forget Democrats and Republicans, they don't exist. It's just a government that governs you. And they allowed 30 to 40 million people in here illegally, started wars all over the world, and were $40 trillion in debt. Would you replace that government? You would. The reason you don't replace the government is because you're too busy going Democrat, Republican. It's the fix. The fix is fighting amongst yourselves over ideologies that they espouse but don't do anything about. And
Yeah.
then you have to pick one of these parties without ever recognizing that your government is one big party that is completely full of nonsense at the federal level.
Yeah. Did you see this weekend the whole Spain situation?
Unbelievable.
And it's
And
like,
it's
oh my
politics.
gosh, if we let the Democrats get in charge, this is what it's going to be like. And it's you know,
Isaiah, the Biden
I understand that there's a truth to that. I understand. However, the problem is that Trump hasn't done too well with the border himself. You know, he's only got about 900,000 deportations right now.
the Biden administration put forth a budget that all the Republicans went crazy about. Then Donald Trump wins the election and they approve the budget.
Yeah.
This is not a two-party system. It's just not. It's rhetoric from two different parties, but the outcome remains the same.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Isaiah. Let me just remind everybody that it is exactly as I say it is.
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
All right. I see Taylor is in.
Looks
So
like
Taylor
he's on the campaign trail.
He's on the campaign trail calling from the car. We like Taylor Burks. We got to meet him down in, what were you in, Osage?
Osage, yep. We're at that
Osage
event.
County. He is, as I understand it, and maybe you have different information than me, Isaiah, he's in a dead heat
Yep.
with Missouri Senator Rick Bratton for U.S. Congress. Let's bring in Taylor Burks. Let's see what's going on with him.
Hey,
Hey,
thanks
Taylor,
for having me, guys.
What's going on, my friend? How you feeling about this thing?
I'm feeling great, honestly. Apologize for being in my truck. We are knocking doors here in mid-Missouri today. And so the team is driving hard. I'm driving hard, which is definitely different from how my opponent approaches campaigning and public service.
Was he knocking on doors? Was he a big door knocker? Or are you hearing different stories from your district?
No, he ducks debates. He ducks the actual work of meeting voters, just like he dodged deployments when he was in the Marine Corps. So this is par for the course for Senator Bratton.
Okay. It's interesting because I don't know if you know this, but I've had some run-ins with Rick Bratton, and I had run-ins with his chief of staff, a guy by the name of Tom Estes. The first time I met them in person was at the Osage County event where you spoke and Rick Bratton spoke and John Grady spoke. And there were several people at that event that spoke. It was the first time they're very cordial to me, which I was surprised at because I've been very rough on them. And I'm rough on them because, number one, his chief of staff said we will never go back to hand counting paper ballots. And I said, well, that's kind of an interesting thing to say out in public because the Secretary of State, Denny Hoskins, said he was going to get rid of these and go back to hand counting paper ballots.
Yeah.
So the statewide election guy says he's getting rid of the tabulators and the electronic voting systems. And then a sitting senator in the same party says that will never happen. period. I said, how do you explain that one? Explain it to me because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
One of the things that our audience is very interested in is AIPAC money. So I'm going to start there. And Isaiah said, don't forget to ask that question. A lot of people because there's a Republican split right now on the way we view Israeli-United States relations. What do you see as, do you see AIPAC money as being too influential in politics? Because it appears, we went and talked to Thomas Massey, and Thomas Massey said they spent $30 million, and we had we were with him all day long. And he said, this is just crazy. They can come in and spend $30 million and just take out somebody who is critical of what's going on in our government and just get me out of the way and bring in Ed Galreinstein. And all of a sudden they've got another puppet. And then when you look through both the Democrats and the Republicans, you see a lot of AIPAC money. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of, lobby money coming from everywhere, but that's a big one. How do you see AIPAC? Would you take AIPAC money? Have you taken AIPAC money? How do you see the AIPAC conversation?
Yeah, I've not taken AIPAC money. I've talked to people who are pro-Israel. I've talked to people who are against AIPAC. This is where I stand. Our national security, we have a number of partners across the world. Those relationships are important, but being America first means that protecting America and American interests, both domestic and international, is my number one priority. So to answer your question, I've not taken AIPAC money. I've not actively solicited AIPAC money. I'm not going to turn them down if they're spending money on my behalf. But the reality is that I stand where I stand on our national security because America first is most important. The second thing, and you point out the Massey race where $30 million was spent against him. I think the massive influx of DC money into these congressional races is a huge problem for this country, whether it's AIPAC, whether it's Club for Growth, you pick the super PAC that it is. That's what's happening here in Missouri. $2 million now has been spent by Club for Growth against me because I won't necessarily be their puppet. I'm a staunch conservative since I was in high school. I knocked doors when I was a teenager supporting candidates down in the Ozarks who are hardcore conservative candidates. That's who I am. But I'll also say exactly what I've talked to you about, Rob, on elections, on national security, on protecting this country. And so a super PAC to come in and spend $2 million against me when I don't even have a voting record that they're going to launch against, I think is telling for how elections are run these days.
Agree. So let's go right into elections. Donald Trump brought it to our attention. I think a lot of people started to look at the election and go, wait a minute, what's going on here with the elections? I talked about it. I had a podcast going on in 2020. And as I started to understand how the elections were being run in this country, I went, how in the world could any competent government allow elections to be run this way with mass mail-in voting, extending the voter period time? You're able to drive with you're able to vote with a driver's license, and we're giving driver's licenses out to anybody from any country, and all of a sudden that's what they use to vote. It just seems so fraudulent to me that it just boggles my mind that the people don't almost revolt, because you can't have your voice and you can't have one person, one vote when you have 30, 40, 50 million people in here illegally, and you're going to allow them a process to vote. We play a clip from Barack Obama all the time where he says, dreamers, you got to get out and vote. I'm like, well, I thought the dreamers weren't citizens.
They're not citizens. Yeah.
He was the president of the United States and nobody seemed to even care anything about it. How do you see elections? Would you take machines out of elections? Would you put forth some form of plan, or would you be in favor of some sort of plan that cleans up our elections and gives people confidence in their vote?
Well, a huge proponent of cleaning up our elections for sure. And I talk about or echo what you've said. Mail-in voting is the greatest threat that we have for the security of our elections. Once a paper ballot leaves the election office or leaves the polling place, there is no security to ensure that whoever's receiving that ballot, filling out and returning it, is the person who's allowed or authorized to vote. And so having paper ballots cast in person is the strongest way that we could protect our elections. Machines, I am not hardcore against tabulators. I understand the concerns that people have for machines, the optic scanners. I say let's pick the biggest battle first. Let's get to a place where we can increase the confidence that we have that every ballot cast in this election is a legitimate ballot by an American citizen. And then as we work toward more refinement for election improvement, we'll look at machines or look at tabulators. So that's where I stand on election fraud or election security. Here in Missouri, here's an example, because I interact with liberals all the time who are like, there's no instances of voter fraud. And I said, BS. We have instances in Boone County from before I was the county clerk, where our county clerk had detected or found fraudulently cast ballots by people who were voting in both Memphis, Tennessee and Columbia, Missouri. She caught those, turned those over to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor declined to press charges against this ring of ballot harvesters who are trying to vote in multiple states for that election. And so that's the real problem with elections. When election authorities choose to identify or find this, prosecutors, liberal prosecutors, are choosing not to prosecute. And so we don't have the actual bulk of evidence or cases that the left would like to see to show that election fraud attempts are pretty prevalent in this country. And the best way to prevent that is paper ballots in a polling place or in a county clerk's office.
What about an election holiday? This is something that comes up. I started talking about it a long time ago. I said, well, wait a minute. If people are complaining that they can't get off of work, or they're complaining about anything that allows them, they're trying to hamper our votes, that, we can't get to the polls, this, that, and the other. Why not have a national holiday for elections? This is something, me personally, I don't even understand why this is a question. The most important thing to keep in your republic is one person, one vote. That's the whole ball game. Why don't we have an election day in this country? It's bizarre to me. Is corporate power so powerful that we can't even protect our own freedoms?
Yeah, I mean, a day for people to vote, especially on the right. Conservatives have jobs, conservatives are working, and finding time to make it to the ballot box or the polling place is a big challenge. So I'm not against a holiday for elections. I also think, though, if we're going to tighten up or secure our elections, having a better informed electorate, people who are researching and finding out what and why they're voting for what's on their ballot, that's as crucial as actually getting to the voting location. And so if an election holiday or a national holiday to vote in November is a way to do that, and a way to encourage citizens to become more informed, then I'm for that.
And more patriotic.
Right.
I think when there's a day off work and you're waving the flags and you're at the polls and everybody's involved and they're counting the votes by hand would be simple if everybody was off work and the government paid people to count them by hand. It'd be nice and simple, but I can't count votes by hand anymore. But anyway, put it this way: would you be in favor of both? So you count them by hand. That's the official by hand, because that's somebody seeing it and touching it, and that's the official count. And then you just go through the scanners to make sure that there's no malfeasance going on. So we reconcile both the hand counting, and if there's a difference between those significant, we know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm for that. The big hurdle right now, Rob, is confidence in our elections.
Right.
People who I do talk to voters who are like, well, my vote doesn't count. There's so much fraud going on. So anything that we can do to kind of restore that American trust that we govern government, we're in charge of government, and the way we do that is at the ballot box. So if hand counting inspires that confidence of Americans that our vote matters and our vote makes a difference, then I'm for that. But where I really plant my flag is paper ballots and stopping this mail-in disaster.
Our audience says you are correct on that answer. All right, next one. I've got to get to there's just some issues that nobody talks about, and I think we should be talking about them. Thomas Massey just put this out recently as well, and I'm not sure that people are even aware of it. Are you aware of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act? Do you know what that is?
I can't say off the top of my head I do.
Okay, so the Smith-Mundt Act was put into effect after World War II because our government recognized Nazi Germany was misleading their people through a series of propaganda techniques. So they outlawed domestic propaganda. In 2012, Barack Obama and the Republicans put forth the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which allowed for domestic propaganda. I believe it's the reason that nobody knows what's going on in the world anymore. If you talk to people, if you go to the grocery store or to your church or to your friends, they'll say, I don't even know what to believe anymore, Rob. I hear that all the time because the media lies. COVID was a lie, climate change. They have these lies that they just perpetuate over and over, and they can do it without any retribution from the citizens. There's no accountability for all of these lies and organized propaganda. So the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act made it legal. Thomas Massey has talked about it. Senator Lee has talked about it, but nothing ever happens. We try to get Josh Hawley to talk about it. I mean, we had our audience members driving him crazy to make a statement on it. And not only did I support Josh Hawley when he ran for Senate, he completely ghosted me when we started asking those questions. And I thought that was kind of interesting. What is your take on domestic propaganda? Should we have laws against domestic? I mean, again, these are easy ones for me. I don't understand what's going on in our country, but shouldn't we have laws against domestic propaganda?
Yeah, well, I mean, the First Amendment matters. The First Amendment has a purpose. And so, if you have government policing speech, I wouldn't be in favor of that. But if Mike Lee is for this, I will tell you, I align a lot with what Senator
Right.
Lee supports and proposes. So maybe I'm kind of misunderstanding what the government would be doing to police propaganda. What you're pointing to, though, is a huge problem. I can't tell you how many people that I talk to, and they said, I don't know what to believe before or anymore. With AI becoming so prevalent, with untruths or lies that are pushed down our throats, these are things that we have to be concerned about the soul of our country and what we can do at the federal level to ensure that, as you say, propaganda and whatever Senator Lee is proposing on that subject, I would definitely be on board with finding out more and trusting what he says.
Okay. Well, just for an example, the Iran war. Domestic propaganda would be lying about what's going on in the war continually, making up narratives. The war is over. The war is back on. They're trying to negotiate with. They're not trying to negotiate with. We've got the dust. We don't have the dust. And it's just a constant stream of information. Everybody goes, well, is the war on? Is the war off? Are they negotiating? Do these people want a resolution? Nobody knows what's going on with a war that was started unconstitutionally. As you know, you can't start wars without Congress coming in. Now you can make all kinds of nonsense and laws and this and that. And we have this, but you can't start bombing leaders from other countries and killing 50 something people and not call it a war, in my opinion. So it's an unconstitutional war. And because, there is no such thing as Congress holding the executive branch accountable, whether it be anybody, Obama did it, Clinton did it, Trump is doing it.
Yeah.
You can't start wars and start bombing people on behalf of the American people unless they give you the authority to do it. That's what the Constitution says. But that's why the Smith Modernization Act is so important, is because nobody's held accountable for lying to the American people. And if you organize lies to the government and a complicit media, then I think we find ourselves where we're at now. But that's, again, just my opinion. Borders. I assume if you're a military veteran and you're a conservative, you'd like to see our borders cleaned up. My question to you is, how would you do it? Because ICE running around the country, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. I think it's very easy to get rid of illegal immigration if they're not allowed to make a living in this country. This is what Barack Obama proposed. I believe even the Clintons did at one time. Why not just say, if you harbor illegal immigrants, if you hire illegal immigrants and they're here without if they're here illegally, then you're going to be held accountable. Wouldn't that just eliminate the problem in like a day and a half?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. ICE cannot be running across the country to try to enforce immigration laws, especially when we have so many sanctuary cities that are trying to subvert that. There aren't enough federal agents, nor should we want that volume of federal agents to do that type of thing. So, and all of the above enforcement strategy, I think, is appropriate. There are some instances of self-deportation where it's actually cheaper if we say, hey, report yourself, we'll get you out of this country, send you home, be on your merry way. That's pretty cost efficient. But then, cracking down on employers and folks who are hiring illegals, harboring illegals, all of those are strong enforcement mechanisms that make sense to me, and I think make sense to the average person who would hear what are we actually doing, rather than just showboating on deporting illegals.
Great answer. I like that one. Okay, surveillance. Last question. I'll let you talk about whatever you want to. So we have here's the way I see it, so you understand where we're coming from. 702 FISA warrants, illegal searches on American citizens, the Patriot Act, still switches in our cars in 2027, AI data centers that nobody wants, and flock cameras popping up all over the country. Certainly seems to me that we have a surveillance state being put into play, which would give the government total control over its citizens from now until forever. And it doesn't feel like the Republican Party is pushing back against it. In fact, Donald Trump said, just go with it. AI data centers, come on, this is going to be a great windfall for the states. They're going to make a lot of tax income. I don't see many Americans falling in line with AI data centers, flock cameras, 702 FISA warrants, the Patriot Act, but it still continues to move forward. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think that you'll probably guess at my position. One, I've already come out and said that we need to ban flock cameras. This is ubiquitous surveillance by the federal government, or any government, state and local as well, on American citizens. We have an expectation in this country that we are living our lives without government intrusion, without government collection of all of our data. And we've gotten to the point over the last 26 years and beyond that, where we're sheep. We're led to expect that government is watching us and doing those things. I think there are plenty of people, especially here in the state of Missouri and how I grew up, that government has no business tracking and monitoring and surveilling or supporting the things or the systems like AI data centers everywhere that are, we're going to lose the soul of our country if we don't fight for things that make us human and make us American.
Amen. One other one, and then I'll let you give your campaign speech if you'd like. What kind of support did you get from the Republican Party? I see the Republican establishment backing Rick Bratton. Is that the way this played out for you? Did you get any establishment people or people that have been around politics for a long time come out and support Taylor Burks, or was it primarily for Rick Bratton?
Yeah, there are local folks, people who I've worked with and known for years and years who are supportive. County commissioners, there's no stronger support across the district than the folks who've lined up with me. Senator Bratton has a ton of the Jefferson City insiders and some congressmen from D.C. as well as a group like Club for Growth. And so I think that's a real problem. I reached out when I came home. A number of folks talked to me about running for this congressional seat because it was an opportunity to take on a Democrat incumbent. And I said, hey, if we're going to add a bunch of conservative mid-Missourians to this district, let's have somebody who can speak to national security, to farming, to all of the concerns of mid-Missourians. And oh, by the way, I have a particular expertise in running elections, and that's important to us too. And so I did the gamut. I met with everybody, met with the governor, met with all the elected Republicans and said, hey, I'm looking at running. This is where I am. And everybody's like, okay, yeah, we'll see how it is. Lo and behold, throughout session, you see all of these insiders, these establishment line up for Senator Bratton. And if that's the campaign that he wants to run, being the establishment pick, that's fine for him. The thing that I always talk about is most Republicans, most Americans don't want to be told how to live their lives and who to vote for. And that's what's happening right now in Republican primaries, where people who may not get all the information they want, they are looking for a candidate who will speak to the issues that matter and restoring America to the greatness that we expect. And the Republican establishment has not been a good partner in making that happen.
I tend to agree. Okay, last thing is just your campaign speech. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Why would people want to vote for Taylor Burks?
Yeah, Rob. Well, I'm a fifth generation farm kid. I grew up down in the Ozarks on my grandparents' cattle farm with very little government interaction on our farm. I joined the Navy when I was in college. I feel very passionately about protecting this country from foreign threats. And so I've served 4 times overseas. That's a difference between me and my opponent. He talks about his service in the Marine Corps, but as I mentioned, never once deployed for this country from 9/11, Afghanistan, and Iraq. He never managed to leave the country. And so I say, hey, if we're going to talk about national security and how we actually protect America from foreign threats, we need to elect people who know what that looks like to serve in the Middle East and in the Far East facing off against China. And in the election security, I think we hit the highlights that I care about anyway. We hit the highlights on your show. Election integrity and losing our ability to ensure that only Americans are choosing the direction of this country. That's how we lose the future of America. So protecting election integrity, passing the SAVE Act, going further and as far as we can to provide those protections at the ballot box. That's how we get America back from people who would do us harm domestically. So that's my pitch. Would appreciate everyone's vote on tomorrow.
What do you think your odds are? If you're an odds maker right now, how are you feeling about it? I'm told it's 50-50. I see people that tell me that you're up in the polls. I see people that tell me he's up double digits in the polls. It's hard for me to believe. What do you? What's your gut feeling?
I am a terrible politician because I just say the truth and what's on my mind. The last thing that we saw, it was a 50-50 race. We think it's going to come out to turnout. And so that's why we're knocking doors so hard. We're working as hard as we are. I also think that mid-Missouri is going to come out big and have a big say. And so that's where my base is. That's where my strength is. Here's the last indicator, Rob. The squealing and the squawking from Senator Bratton and his team over the last few days indicates they're not up 15 points. And they're really worried about a grassroots movement, somebody who's actually done work and shown up. They're worried about someone like that beating them again in this race. And so that's the tell for us. The fact that they are screaming and squawking is it's not a runaway for Senator Bratton.
And how do people find you? If they want to go look up your campaign, they're going to make a decision late. They haven't really got their minds made up yet. How do they find you?
Yep, Berks for Congress has all of our website, our positions, and more. I actively tweet on X, so that's Taylor W. Berks, my personal account that I've used for years, and then Berks for Congress on Facebook as well. So we are very active on social media and our website as well. If anyone has questions, just go to contact us or get involved. Send us a message there, and we respond as quickly as we're able to.
Impressive guy, impressive resume, and a beautiful family. Taylor Burks, I wish you all the best, my friend.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Thanks
When
for
you win,
having
you
me.
gotta come on and talk to me though. When you win, don't run from me. When you win, I'll chase you down.
Rob, there are some areas where people have said, "Hey, Rob's been critical of the president," and so probably some difference of opinion from me. And I'm always happy to talk to people who we don't agree 100%.
You're on. Taylor Burks, everybody. Good luck, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Rob.
You got it. All right, Taylor Burks. I'd be curious to see what the audience thinks of Taylor Burks. He's an impressive guy. There's no doubt about it. Didn't you think so, Isaiah, when we met Taylor?
Lots of positive feedback from the audience so far.
We're getting positive feedback?
Yep, everyone's saying vote for Taylor.
Vote for Taylor. Right on.
Yeah, especially considering the people he's the person he's running against.
Well, that's
I
thought
Rick
that
Bradden, great guy. Seems like a nice guy. Very cordial. Same with Tom. Very cordial guys. So I don't want people to think that we're attacking their character or anything like that. That's not what we're doing. It's just policies that we differ on.
Yeah, it's policies and methodology. It's really that's what it is. That's.
I don't want to get into the same war that they're waging and attacking people's character or trying to diminish people or undercut people. I always like to try to be the bigger person in these instances. And so
my argument is to bring people out into the sunlight and have really legitimate conversations with people and have them over and over and over and over and over and over again publicly so that people start to get a measure of what's going on. That's the way to get things done. Because of the way money is spent on elections, again, just my opinion, Isaiah, but it is the Rob Carter Show, for God's sakes. I can give my opinion.
You can say whatever you want on this show.
It's still legal, right? Did you look it up?
Yeah.
I always will make sure that it's still legal. I look at it and say, if there's that much money trying to influence your opinion, and that you have an electorate that doesn't have a lot of time to dig into these things and read these bills and understand the legal framework of these bills, you really don't know what's going on. You have to trust because you can't make your own decision anymore. That's a real problem.
Yeah.
It's a real problem for Missourians. It's a real problem for this country when you have 2,000-page bills going through the Senate in Washington, D.C. You have to rely on these people.
That's why they're hunting down the endorsements, Rob. They hunt down the endorsements, especially President Trump's endorsement. Right now, I think he's 100%. Last we checked, I got to check again. Last we checked, he's 100% on the endorsements this year. And we remember when we looked at it and it's like, oh, it was 80%. And then it went up to 90%. And now this year it's 100%.
Really?
And,
Is it 100%?
Yeah. And so that's the strategy now. It's like, oh, we know that the base isn't going to be able to educate themselves on all these issues or stay up to date on everything. But if I get President Trump to say, vote for this, vote for me, right? I will get all these votes automatically just because President Trump said to vote for that person. And I don't think that's a wise way to vote for someone personally. I put out a post on X, Rob. I said, if you don't know, vote no. And people didn't like that. Not our people, but people in the establishment didn't like that. And I just say, if you don't know, you shouldn't vote yes on something. That's how I look at it as an alderman. If I don't understand something, I'm not going to vote yes on something for the city. I'm going to vote no.
Right.
And that's
I agree. I think if they can't make legislation that people can understand, I don't know that I would vote for any legislation that I couldn't figure out on my own. Will you get us ready for some advertising? Let's do PLMO, ECS, Carrington, and then Grace. If you're writing those down, but PLMO, ECS, Carrington, and then Grace. And we're going to come up with a roundtable discussion here in just a bit. Let me promote that a bit. I like these people. So I like Josh Lehman. Josh Lehman he's very aggressive in his takedown of Amendments 4 and 5. And I think he's a brilliant guy. He's a very smart person. He spent time learning, studying law. So you can kind of see how the law works in the state of Missouri. He is beloved by people in the grassroots community because he is so outspoken. Then we'll have Amy Castro and Michael Compton. They're on the show all of the time. I want to talk about Club for Growth when they come on. I don't know much about Club for Growth. I will say this. when I started speaking out against APAC and what is going on, and this is years ago, Isaiah, whenever nobody was talking about it when I was doing it, and I was getting pounded. That was when I was on News Talk Radio. What is it? That's where Tim Jones is at now.
Mhm.
So when I was talking about that, nobody else was. And like, what was the one that you mentioned that Rex was involved with? What's the name of that group? You know what I'm talking about? That group. I can't think of the name of that group right now.
There's
But
so many groups.
there were people that were involved in that group that were calling me out continually on News Talk, trying to get me fired and sending in these nasty messages and so forth and so on.
The Show Me Institute?
Show Me Institute. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm.
Show Me Institute. And that's backed by Rex, you were saying?
Yes, yeah. He founded the Show Me Institute when he moved back to St. Louis back in 2005. That's where Aaron Headland is on. He works for them too. I think he's on leave right now, but he was on like their chief economist, and Greg Keller works for Show Me Institute. Different people.
He
like
does.
that. Yeah. Just go look at the website. You don't believe me? You can see all the people that work for them right there. They list their board of directors. Sorry, he's a board of directors. I think he's on the board of directors. Doesn't work for them.
Okay. The reason that's interesting is I have a buddy that I was in.
But it does say that the board of directors funds the institute. Interestingly enough, so
I have a buddy that's I was in the shoe business with for years and years. Good friends with him, and he goes, "Hey, I'm really close friends with Greg Keller. I got to set up a lunch with you guys. You know, you guys need to talk. He's in the political game now. You're in the political game." It never materialized, and I didn't know that Greg Keller was such a name. I'd heard of him. But now I see his name popping up more and more now that I'm aware of who he is. Don't know much about him, but I just thought it was interesting that a good friend of mine.
He's the guy. It's a picture of his hair on X, so it's just his hair slicked back. So you'll see him around on X.
All right, I'll have to pay more attention. All right, let's do a little advertising. Then we'll bring in Josh Lehman, Amy Castro, Travis Hines, and Michael Compton for a little grassroots conversation about what's going on in the world. Let me start with People's Lobby Missouri. Again, I've got the T-shirt on. When Travis comes on, you'll see the hat. People's Lobby Missouri is a marketing operation that uses pressure techniques to get the establishment to communicate with us and to move back toward a constitutional republic. We believe that they don't pay attention to the Constitution at all. We believe that big money runs the state of Missouri. We do not believe that you have a say in your government. We agree with Bryant Wolfen that you really don't have a say in your government. We agree with Ron Calzone that said 90% of all legislation goes through a handful of people, and the legislatures are kind of just bystanders as to what is going on. We agree with that position as well. And we say with People's Lobby Missouri, if you come in and you donate to us, we in the process of healing your state. You'll have a better state. You'll have more say in your government. You'll be a part of a family, and we will keep you informed along with Act for Missouri, along with the Shield Mains, along with Rhino Watch of the pitfalls that you have to look forward the pitfalls that you must recognize in Missouri legislation, because the titles and the way they spin it and the things they sell you on don't always materialize the way they are presented. So I beg of you, go check out peopleslobbymo.com, peopleslobbymo.com, sign up, donate, help us out, because the more you give us to spend, you'll see that we don't take money out of there. The more you give us to spend, the more we advertise, the more we can get our message out. And we really need more donations, more people in the game so that we can take control of our government. And a government of, by, and for the people only works when you're organized. As the ants say, the grasshoppers will have their way with us unless we organize. We must organize, or the grasshoppers in Jefferson City are going to eat you alive. How about
ants can be really annoying too.
Ants can be annoying. ECS Roofing, our good friend Larry Evans, ECS Roofing and Exteriors. You can check them out on Facebook if you have any kind of storm damage on your roof, gutters, siding, exterior metal. They take care of everything. ECS Roofing and Exteriors is our family right here, this family. This is our general contractor. So when it's time for a new roof, when it's time for siding, when it's time for decks, gutters, garage doors, you name it, always think ECS Roofing and Exteriors. The number one reason I like him is because he's conscientious. He's been around for 30 years. He prides himself on being trustworthy and doing a great job for us, because he wants to be aligned with what we're doing. So this is the person to go to when you need a new roof. When it's time for a new roof, it's always ECS Roofing and Exteriors. You can reach them at 314-486-3567, 314-486-3567, ECS Roofing and Exteriors. And then, of course, Carrington Financial. This is an easy one. This should be a no-brainer. He's been busy a lot lately. I used to talk to Rick all the time. He's been busy, so I assume his phone is ringing off the hook. Again, if you watch him every Tuesday at 11 o'clock with us, you're going to recognize that Rick Babitz knows a lot about currency. He knows a lot about politics. He knows a lot about our government, and he can guide you, as far as I can tell, better than anybody I've ever met on your finances. If you're nearing retirement, if you have money to protect, if you have money to grow, it should be your first call. Rick Babbitt's 314-671-0525. If you have your money tied up with friends and you're like, oh, Rob, I can't move it away from my friend. Fine. Get a second, get a third, get a fourth opinion. Make sure you take care of yourself, but definitely get Rick Babbitt's opinion. YourCaringAdvisor.com, YourCaringAdvisor.com, 314-671-0525. And then we have GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com for the people in back. One more time, GraceHauling.com. This is an easy one. If you're in St. Charles County, you see these trucks everywhere. And you would think to yourself, why are all these trucks, these Grace Hauling trucks, why do I see these cans and trucks with Grace Hauling all over the place? Very simple. Because people like doing business with Gary Schneider. He's a great guy from a great family, and he treats people right. He's heavily involved in Missouri politics. GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. Commercial businesses, 2, 4, 6, and 8-yard dumpsters. This guy's been around since 1998, and he's old school. Prides himself on customer service. They want to take care of their customers. They want to hear from you. They want to do the right thing. Competitive pricing, and again, for residential customers, always easy to remember: trash, recyclables, yard waste, and bulk pickups. GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. All right, let's bring in this all-star panel of.
Need you to call Amy. Don't forget, you got to call Amy because
I've got to call Amy.
Yeah, you got to call Amy.
All right, then you got to start the segment here because I got to get Amy on the horn.
No worries. Let's go ahead and bring.
Amy was in her car, wasn't she? All right, let's do this.
Let's do this here.
Bring everybody in. Say hello to everybody. Get them rolling, Isaiah.
Here we go. Let's get this round table going.
Look at that handsome crew right there. Holy
hello.
Stud. All right, hang on, guys. I'm gonna.
Very politicians are shaking in their boots right now.
I'll start here as we bring in Amy into the conversation. So Travis Hines, he joins us. He's from People's Lobby, Missouri. He does a lot of the marketing for us. He's been campaigning for Jen Olson, as you can see on his shirt. Jen Olson is for hand counting paper ballots. There he is.
There I am. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, brother? People's Lobby Mo hat. Then we've got Josh Lehman, a superstar in the grassroots movement. He goes in and out on it, trying to keep him in the game. He disappears for us for a little bit. When he comes back with a vengeance. Rhino Watch and Josh Lehman. And then, of course, always my man with the, where's my book? There, what shoulders it on? I can't even remember. Right here. Keeping the Republic, Michael Compton from Act 4 Missouri. So the first thing, let me start with Travis. And then when you finish Travis, as I call Amy, just give us your take on amendments 3, 4, and 5. If you've made your decision, Travis, where you're at on amendments 3, 4, and 5, then we'll go to Josh, then we'll go to Michael Compton.
We'll try to keep it brief as possible here. With Amendment 3, I think you can probably put me in the undecided camp with that coming up here in November. It's really not on my immediate radar now. I know that there are some good arguments on both sides of the issue, kind of like Isaiah alluded to early in the episode. I think there's still time to come out. My big fear with that is an unintended consequence, such as putting abortion into the Constitution, and we're picking who lives and dies.
All right, okay.
Oh, did you hear me?
Sorry, I meant to mute him. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, we're good. Now, as far as so Amendment 3, I just say undecided at this point. I will probably use every minute up to Election Day to make my decision with that in November. Amendment 4, I'm going to be a big firm no on. Just kind of looking at, so again, with the unintended consequences, I don't think that 8 of 8 is the solution. With the citizen petitions, I think that's going to have a really bad effect if Republicans are ever in the minority, and I don't think that's what people are considering. If Republicans ever end up in the minority again, we are cooked. We are toast as conservatives, and that's really important. If you look back even at the Hancock Amendment, that was put in when we were a super minority. So those things do come into effect whenever we actually need them. And my fear is that we would become Illinois, a big, bright red conservative state, but nothing ever gets passed like over there with Chicago. They always have the final say. The one district having a final say, such as St. Louis City, I think that's too high of a bar, and I'm gonna definitely be a firm no on 4. Amendment 5, same thing. It's ridiculous. There's no details about it. People need to understand what they're voting for whenever they If they would say, hey, we're going to tax, haircuts at 50% and groceries another 3%, or, something to where people can make an informed decision. I don't like that. The fact that they've laid it out and just as a framework, and, all in all, it's with politicians that we can't trust. These guys have not given us anything to trust them with. It's too much of a roll of the dice. I think Amendment 5, I'm definitely a firm no, and that thing's going to go down in a ball of fire.
It's a prediction.
That is my prediction.
All right. I think I know where Josh lays out, but Josh, Amendments 3, 4, and 5. Have you made a decision on Amendment 3? I think you have on 4 and 5, but I want people to hear you articulate your reasoning for being against 4 and 5. But let me start with 3. Amendment 3, the abortion issue. What's your take on it?
So this one really upsets me because of the fact that we did such a good job of having it eliminated from the beginning, and then abortion passing the way it did. And one thing I had to come to grips with was that this is kind of the culture right now. Is people voted in favor of it. Now, granted, I know that most of the people that voted in favor of it had no idea the extent of what the current language in the Constitution allows for abortion, gender mutilation of children, all this other garbage. On principle, I'd be a no on Amendment 3, but on practicality, I'm likely going to be a yes. I don't even say likely, I'm going to be a yes. I've been praying about it, man. It's been one of the things that's bugged me more than anything else, because I don't like the idea of sanctioning anything. But and I still need to jump into the language and read it more. So, if things change based on that, then I'll definitely be upfront about it. But the idea is rape and incest is such a small percentage of actual abortions themselves. And if this did pass, then it would save a lot of children. And I was actually sitting in the truck with my colleague at work last week, and we were talking about it. And he goes, man, it's just become such an, abortion has just become such a industry, like child part industry, baby parts industry. And if there's anything we can do to rein that in. And that really hit home with me because it's just a logical conclusion. So I'm as of now, I'm definitely going to support Amendment 3 just for the practical fact of trying to protect as many kids as possible. I am pissed off about the fact that this is even an issue because our legislature has continually let us down. If we would have passed real IP reform in the years subsequent to this, we would have, or previous to this, we would have absolutely been able to beat that. Even if we would have had a simple 50 or 60% majority, it would have never been an issue. So to me, it's a massive failure on the part of the Missouri GOP in general. But we're now in a rock and the hard place. And so my vote's going to go to save as many babies as possible, even though it pisses me off. Amendment 4.
I think you're in the same camp as a lot of people, by the way.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it sucks. And Amendment 4, burn in hell, because it's an 8 of 8. It essentially neuters it. In effect, it's going to destroy it. And they say they don't want majority rule. Now they're going to allow minority rule by the same people they say is majority rule. So, I'm 100% with Travis. And not only the fact of what if happens if we switch over, I don't trust the legislature that we have now. We haven't had anything good come out of there. And so I think that I hope, we have enough people engaged now. This is the most engagement I've ever seen. Maybe we could get our own amendments brought to the forefront and really do some good and change some things. Crazy as it is, this has been a bridge to a lot of Democrat and libertarian voters. And I think maybe, just maybe, we could find common ground on things that actually help us fiscally, maybe not morally or ethically or culturally, but there may be some things where we can actually rein in Jeff City and get together on. Who knows? But I look at it as hopeful for not just in the future, but even now. But I would absolutely support really Ron Calzone's. That's the best thing I've heard as far as the concurrent majority among the legislative House districts, because that would have representation all across the state. And it would be a much more fair bar, in my opinion. So, and then Kalshi has Amendment 4 going down in flames with I think 16% chance of approval right now. And then Amendment 5, again, burn in hell. Because you don't have to give us more taxes in order to cut spending and lower our taxes. That's the conversation. They're like, oh, don't you, Bishop Davidson, he wants to frame it as, what do you think's the more moral tax? And it's such a stupid conversation because that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is we want you to stop spending. We want you to rein in the excessive spending. God knows how much fraud and special handouts are happening in this state when it comes to taxation and so on. I want to cut the budget. I want to rein in spending, and I want to kill income tax by growth triggers that are already happening now. We don't have to have more taxes in order to have one less tax. So I think Amendment 5 needs to burn. But I still think we need to end income tax. I still think we need IP reform. We need to do it the right way. And I'm not compromising on these specific approaches, because once that happens, it's over. So yeah, no on both of those, and yes on 3.
Gotcha. All right, let's bring in Michael and Amy. I think I know where you guys stand, but just to articulate it, if you have any difference of opinion, or you can just say, I kind of share the same opinion as the first two. Where are you guys at on A3? What have you decided on?
On A3, I'm completely against it. Yeah, I can't. First of all, I could never vote to say that one class of people is subject to the state saying it's okay to murder. But beyond that, the rape and incest, there's no check and balance on that. There's no reporting. And really all A3 does is let the legislature regulate the clinics. So the clinics aren't where abortions are going to be happening, and there's fewer and fewer happening there now anyway. It's going to be the pills. And there's nothing in there that lets them do that. And because I know the legislature up there, I know that if they pass this, or it'll just be a talking point in the elections, because they'll say we've already dealt with this as far as the leadership goes, and we won't deal with the bigger questions.
Okay, Amy, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do, and I think we keep hearing that it's going to save all the babies, but the data just does not lean towards that. When we had the full ban, there were just as many abortions. They happened in the states next to us. And I believe it was Tom Estes that said, well, hey, as long as they're not happening in Missouri, then they aren't happening. So that's his criteria. As long as it doesn't happen here, we're good. If it just happens out there. But that's not where I stand, and I'm pretty sure I can say safely that that's not where Mike stands. We need to have the discussion of when does life begin? When does life begin? That is the discussion. And I don't see that abortion is murder. You cannot say, well, it's okay to murder in these cases. And what is it? I mean, I get so angry with this, because I'm like, why don't you just make a bill that says, what, you've got a couple weeks after the baby's born. And if it's too much of a burden, if you're feeling financially like maybe you just can't handle it, or emotionally, mentally, you're not well, you can just go ahead and take the baby out. Because, I mean, what's the point? What is the magic birth canal? I mean, what is the difference between the baby in the womb and the baby outside the womb? No one is able to explain that. I can't. I'm a hard no. We've got to get our morals and values straight.
Yeah, it's such an emotional issue, and I think that's why it works so well. I think there's so much money.
Absolutely. And and probably, I mean, truthfully, I'm probably speaking from a female point of view. And there's something so visceral that I think, oh my God, you carry a human life, and you're okay with extinguishing it.
It is odd, isn't it? In the era that we grew up, Amy, it was at least for me when I was in high school and in college days, nobody thought anything of abortion. It was like a procedure that nobody even thought about. And then as you get a little bit older, you have kids, you start to look at the world through a different lens. You realize how just horrific the act of abortion is. And you've got to, and people don't see it that way. I mean, they're the liberals do not see it that way. They think it is just, what's the big deal? And like, you don't see.
Well, they've been told it's a clump of cells and there's nothing there. But yet, when these young people see these videos of an actual abortion, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a baby! Like, it has hands, it has feet. You can see that it's a human being." And that bothers them. That they still try to do the argument, but you can tell something was resonating in their soul that that's not right. And I don't know. When I grew up, abortion was something very shameful. It was done. If it was done at all, it was done in the dark, quietly.
Yeah.
It was nothing that you brag about. And now when I see, these protests and these women are out here bragging about it, I'm like, where have we gone? I mean, where in our minds and our hearts and our souls have we decided that this is acceptable? And if it's acceptable preborn, then it's acceptable post-birth. So Mad Max, I guess. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt there's been a cultural degradation ever since.
Oh my gosh.
Ever since we had Roe v. Wade and we had abortion on demand, and kids started thinking it was no big deal. There's definitely been a cultural degradation from that point forward.
You know, and I know that there's the argument for A4s. Look at all these leftist things that they've pushed in. Well, my question is, where's our side then? I mean, where are we? Are we just sitting there and letting them run us over? Are we going to fight back? I mean, I want my party back. I want the Conservative Party back.
Okay, well, that's my next question, because I know you guys are both against 4 and 5. We've talked about that, right? You guys are both against 4 and 5, so the audience already knows what you guys
ad nauseum.
This is the question I want to ask, and I'll start, but everybody just jump in and we have an open conversation. Just be careful not to talk over each other. And I'll start with Travis. I don't understand right now what's going on with the Republican Party in the state of Missouri. For example, can you tell me how many people you align with in the Republican Party in the state of Missouri? And I don't know how many there are total Republicans in the House and the Senate, but I don't understand the alignment with the Republican Party, because as I look through it, there's like 5 people in the entire Missouri government that I align with that call themselves Republicans. I don't know how that's my party anymore. I mean, they call themselves Republicans. I thought I was a Republican, but when I don't align with anything that they do, I don't align with the way that I don't align with leadership. I don't align with the way they run elections. I don't align with the way they pick their speaker. I don't align with anything really that they actually do. Not what they say they do, but what they actually do. How do you guys see yourself aligning with the Republican Party, or do you anymore? Because everybody says you got to reform it. I'm like, you're not really reforming anything if 95% of it is at odds with what you want done.
I think it really comes down to what the platform represents. You know, if you are a Republican, you have a certain set of beliefs. That's where you align. You know, whenever our Missouri voters, we're going out, repeatedly voting for Republicans, sending them to Jeff City, and then we find out, that they've, handed over all their power to a handful of individuals. So our citizens aren't getting represented. And I think that we've talked about that a lot, where it's all in the hands of one guy, in the Speaker of the House or the Senate Pro Tem. So people are not fairly represented. If you go by actual individuals, or the characters that are on television playing the part of Republicans, I would say it's a very small number. I would say 10, 15, 20. There are certain reps that I agree with more on certain issues. But then again, a lot of these reps will blow a lot of smoke at you if you sit down and talk to them. So I don't think I think that the party apparatus exists. And I think that's where, a group like People's Lobby comes into place, where we're actually looking at ideas to change that system, to empower our representatives to not be afraid to vote no on a pre-selected speaker, return some of the power back to the people, because you have, myself, I am a member of the Central Committee out in St. Charles County representing O'Fallon. And I hear it all the time from voters, like, hey, we send these guys out here. How come, and it's the same thing that we discuss, like this being discussed on the show. How come year after year it's abortion? How come it's this? Well, we're sending super majorities. At what point the voters have done their part, now it's time for the Republicans, for lack of a better term, to shit or get off the pot,
But Travis, I'll just ask you a question, because you're a heavy supporter for Jen Olson, as am I. So I've endorsed Jen Olson. She's running for St. Charles County election director. Right now, the guy running the elections in St. Charles County is a Republican. Here's a guy that has thumbed his nose at everything that we brought to his attention, from the electronic voting machines to poll watchers, you name it. He's thumbed his nose. If that was a Democrat, I think the people would be going outside of their minds. But because it's a Republican, the majority of people that vote Republican don't even recognize that it's happening. It's only a small group of grassroots that recognize what's going on in St. Charles County. This is where I say we have a problem. When you label something, you market something as the Republican Party, then the impression that everybody has is this is what it stands for. Let me look at their platform. Okay, this is what the Republican Party stands for, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. I mean, even if you go back to, I believe it was the fall of 2023, the RNC had put out a statement saying that it was, the Republican Party supports going back. This is from the mothership, the RNC, saying that they support going back to hand counted paper ballots. Right. Even down in our caucus that we had, our county caucus, we had, in spring of 2024, unanimously of Republican support, 1,400 people all stood up in the gymnasium there in favor of hand-counted paper ballots. Now, if you look at a guy like Kurt Barr, now that's obviously a chink in the armor there, that there is no proper vetting, there is no affirmation there. A guy like Kurt Barr, who is obviously not a Republican, you can ask anybody in the county, he just gets to slap his name on the ballot and say that and I don't even think he's necessarily a Democrat. I think he's a statist. I think he's the gatekeeper for some of the other reps that that they know that they're safe with him.
Well, how many establishment Republicans, how many Republicans that have been around politics for a long time, whether it be in St. Charles County or whether it be in Jefferson City, how many people have come out and spoke out against Kurt Barr?
And look at this. I mean, look at our county delegation in St. Charles County. All of them out. Sans our senator Nick Schroer.
That's one.
That's one. And then I think Adam Schnelting said he was going to stay out of it because he was a family friend or something like that. Yep. And these other ding dongs in the House, they're throwing this this fake support behind Kurt Barr, and I got to know why. Your Republican voters in your county unanimously showed up to your Republican Party caucus to stand up in support of hand-counted paper ballots. And the first time you had an opportunity as for a candidate to show up and say, hey, I fully support the Republican position, what do these bastards do is they cut and run. They turn around and go backwards. And they support the other guy. Make that make sense. So it's hard to say, where do you as a Republican voter see? It's just not being represented. So people can be Republican, but when we send these people to Jefferson City, that they're not being fairly represented. And I don't know what the solution to that is.
I'm going to give you one I think we might do. Amy, I know you want to say something. Go ahead, Amy.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the solutions I have, and I want to bring it over to Josh. I think we do need another party. I know everybody goes, oh, you can't win with another party. Well, it might take 4 or 5 different terms to get to a legitimate party. But I think that the Democrat voters are frustrated with the Democrat Party. I think Republican voters are appalled by what's going on within the Republican Party. And why, if you had money, if you could just raise enough money to say, listen, we are independent thinkers. We could call it the We Party. I vote We Party. Come on. You can't beat that slogan. I vote We Party. And we just say, look, we the people are not aligned with this party apparatus anymore. These parties have got us fighting with each other. They have destroyed the fabric of our society. It's been going on for far too long. And we need to wedge something out that says we need, and just lay it out. One, very easy to read bills. If you vote for a multi-subject bill and it gets restricted or gets turned back by the Missouri Supreme Court, you lose your seat. We have another election. You could make the laws that we have in the state of Missouri don't make any sense. The processes that we use don't make any sense. It is clear to me, it is so clear to me that the establishment has put forth a system that protects itself from the citizens. And they're trying to do it again with Amendments 4 and 5. You can see it as clear as the nose on your face, although they're going to be able to use all their money and all the campaign donations and the PACs to come out and mislead people. That's the way I see it. So I think we do need I don't think you're going to be able to reform a party that already is picking their speaker in advance. I don't know how you're going to, how are you going to get legislation through a guy that's picked in advance by the money? How are you going to get through that system? I don't know that you can. I think you need another party. I think you need to demand fair elections. And then you can call it the new Republican Party if you want to, because right now you don't have a Republican Party that anybody recognizes. It's so in bed with the Democrats. I can't even tell where the Democrats end and the Republicans start. Josh, tell me I'm crazy. I know you're going to tell me I'm crazy, but what's your take?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I just want to kind of start real quick to the abortion thing. I want to point something out. Okay, the abortion thing can be a political question.
You're cutting.
Judicial question.
You're cutting, Josh. Just go out and come back in.
No, I think it's your headphones.
Yeah, it might be your headphones.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's the headphones. It's the Bluetooth.
Bluetooth is good for us. Turn that Bluetooth off and let's see what happens.
I know. Josh is going to want to talk to me about that. I'm totally open to the conversation.
Okay, I'll let him come back. Amy, what do you think with the Republican Party?
I don't think we'll have a third party. I just don't think that's historically. We're just not going to see it. Maybe that's my father-in-law, who's a political science professor. Talked to him about that a couple of times, and he said never going to happen. I think each side, Democrats and Republicans, need to hold their party accountable for the platform. know, and I think the Republicans are trying to do that. The citizens are trying to do that. They don't want that platform.
How do you do it, Amy? When they control the, if it is what we believe that it is, and this is what everybody, Ron Calzone has said this to us, Brian Wolfen has said this to us, Bill Eigel has said this to us. It's a top-down corporate party. So how would you ever fix a party where the leadership already has a process to keep control and do whatever they want to do? How do you ever break through that? That's what I don't understand.
I think what we're doing right now,
just constant pressure,
trying to get stronger people in there, more pressure, expose the players of the game, so that citizens. There's still a lot of citizens that have no clue. Like this whole idea of Rex Sengfeld, never heard of the guy, never even knew he existed. I mean, their eyes. It's just opening people's eyes to what the real game is, the real players of the game. That becomes an informed citizen, and that becomes a frustrated and angry citizen. I'll give it to Scott Vaughn. Scott Vaughn has it. Every time he's talking, he said, man, people out there are angry.
I heard him
He's
say that.
got it. He's reading the room. Your constituents are angry. And that means either you have two choices. You either ignore it and do whatever you want, or you start paying attention and figure out why they're angry. And I guess if they ignore it, more people will get angry, and eventually the money dries up and people just stop donating. And then the party's going to have to decide. I guess they're either going to have to get with it or I don't know, dissolve. That remains to be seen, I guess.
Gotcha. Josh, you back with us?
Yeah, does it sound okay now?
You sound fantastic. Okay.
Okay, cool.
I know
So
you talk about abortion, but I want to get your opinion on the party thing, because it's just something I've been thinking about, and I'm not as savvy as you guys are when it comes to this. It's just, for me, I look at it big picture and think, man, these parties are keeping us divided. It's really causing a problem in our society. It's not fixing anything. It's causing more and more division, which I think the establishment loves that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think parties are important because parties are a way that you carry your policy directives and your cultural guidelines. But the reality is we have a Republican Party. It is a written contract, essentially. It's a platform. And if you read that platform, it's a very good platform. They just don't adhere to it. And the reality is because I didn't learn we had a platform until years ago, right? Read it and I was like, oh, I'm proud to be a Republican in Missouri. But the reality is a lot of these people, they don't know it exists, right? I mean, there's so many people that get elected. They don't know how any of this stuff works. The staffers govern them. They get in because of the consultants. The consultants pick them and fund them by the donors. So it's really just people doing the bidding of whoever's in monetary control. But what Amendment 5 and Amendment 4 should show us, especially 5 tomorrow when it fails, is that we don't need money. We need education by the people. If HRCC, which is the House Republican Campaign Committee, which everybody says, oh, you got to get their endorsement, or you got to get their money in order to get elected. I ask the question, if they weren't around, would elections still happen? Right? Like, it's a mentality of saying, oh, we have to make money. We have to raise money in order to be seen as a serious candidate. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You need to be able to figure out somehow, some way to get in contact with your electorate, with your base, have communications with them, be supported by them, and then have them hold you accountable. One of the big ways of doing that is taking over these central committees. The central committees don't even understand the authority they have to be able to put out. There's supposed to be the go-between between the elected officials and the base themselves. They're supposed to foster loyalty to the Republican Party by holding the elected officials accountable based on what their base wants, and then also communicating back to them. You should be giving legislative priorities to every single one of your representatives before they go into office the year before. That December, before the new term comes, you should send them an official letter of everything that you expect them to do and everything you expect them to stay away from. Then you should publish that in your local paper and online and everywhere else that you have the opportunity, so that the people see this is what the mandate is for your rep. And if that rep does not hold to that standard, then you censure them and you tell them they won't get the support. If we stand up and start acting like we're in charge, that's when things start changing. I don't care about money or anything else, right? We have the influence now. People are paying attention like never before. It's simply about going to your voter base and understanding what's going on, and the voters giving you a directive. People need to be educated and understand what's actually going on, what the party is supposed to represent, and all the mechanisms of authority and the levers that we have that we can pull. And we need to be strong Like with Nick Schroyer, that's why he has a beard, right? Because his chin's so weak. He's got a glass jaw. He's going to stay out of things that matter the most. Because why? Because he's friends of somebody? I don't care. All right. This is politics, or by the mechanism by which we preserve our freedom. And if we aren't standing in the gap for the things that matter, then we're worthless. And people like that, and people like Tim Jones and all these other feckless individuals are finally getting outed because they were skating on top of a name before, a Republican name. Now people are looking at substance. They're judging trees by their fruit. And I think we're already on a trajectory to reclaim everything. I'm okay with having parties because, again, parties give people an alliance of where they're supposed to be, as long as the individuals are actually adhering to the party standard itself, which is actually expressly written in the platform. So if people know what's going on, hold their people accountable, they're proactive and put out mandates, and then hold them accountable after that each individual session, that's what's going to change everything.
Michael, you agree?
So,
Hang on, I get you, Amy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
I want to repeat something really quick that Josh said, because he's right. He mentioned your Republican Central Committee, and I cannot tell you how many people who are Republicans don't even know what that is, when they meet, where they meet, and what they do. Go ahead, Mike.
okay, I agree pretty much with everything I've heard. I would add, though, the reason I wrote the book that I wrote was because the citizens don't know what their responsibilities are anymore. And
Correct.
It's because we're not taught in the schools the way they used to. Our churches, everything has gone down to where now the citizens think they're spectators, and they think their participation is to show up every couple of years and push a button or check a box. And until we change that, I think we're going to have an uphill battle. But I do think it's changing. I mean, me and Amy go around to these groups, We the People groups and stuff all over the state. We've noticed that people have gone from being angry to wanting to know what they want to do or what they can do. And it doesn't, it doesn't take 30% of the people to be on board. I mean, I think if you get 10 or 15% of the people that are active and participating in the system and being the citizens they're supposed to be, I think we can see tremendous change, even at that small a number.
Here's one of the things. I want to play this again just so people remember. Ready? So this is my biggest issue with why I say the Republican Party might not be salvageable. I just want you guys to hear me out. And you can tell me where I'm wrong. I just want to know where I'm wrong. I look at it and say the system has completely contained itself. So the people that would do anything to help you, they are all complicit. For example, the Speaker of the House. Like, can you imagine in a legitimate society, in a legitimate state, the Speaker of the House, the gatekeeper of all legislation, would take this oath out in public in front of everybody?
I will keep the secrets of the House.
And I will keep the secrets of the House.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have somebody that says in an oath, as they're becoming the most powerful Republican in the House of Representatives, the gatekeeper of all legislation, to outwardly saying he is taking an oath to keep the secrets of the House. So just take that in as number one. And then number two, they choose the Speaker of the House, Alex Riley, who I've tried to get an interview with when he first was named. He came out onto social media. He'd only been a House rep for a few months, and he says that he's going to be the Speaker of the House moving forward. They've already chosen the person that's going to lead the House. So that person is going to determine all legislation. So everybody that gets elected doesn't really have a say in their government unless Alex Riley agrees with it. And Alex Riley, I would assume, if we look at what's coming in with gambling, they've already sent a ton of money into the leadership of the Republican Party. I don't know how you break through that barrier of the guy that controls all of the legislation is chosen in advance by the Republican Party. And then if they only got a handful of people in the Republican Party that vote against him, let's say that it's 50-50. You got 50 cowards and 50 stand-up people. Well, then the Democrats come in and back the establishment person. How do you get out of that? I just, for me, I look at it and go, that seems like almost an impossible task. How do you get through? Because nobody even knows. You can go to your grocery store right now and ask 100 people, and not one person will even know that that's the process. How do you change that? And I'll leave it to Mike, because Mike is the guy, the constitutional Republican. Yeah. Tell me how you get out of that box.
Again, the party structure starts at the county central committees. Mm-hmm. And if you control them, you control who goes up to the congressional district in the party and who gets on the state board. And when you get on the state board, you get to decide who who controls the chair and who controls the party. And like Josh said, that's when you start censoring these guys. You start, it's the structure's there. It's not being used properly. But that's probably our best bet. Other than that's one method. The other method is just the citizens doing like what you're trying to do, Rob, and what we're trying to do is just get the truth out and put pressure on them as we are now.
Right.
Getting another party. I mean, someday it may come to that. I mean, I know that what's happening now is you've got a Republican establishment that pretty much just believes they're in power. They're always going to be in power. We hear what is anybody going to do? Vote for a Democrat?
Right.
But they won't vote, and if that happens enough people, then they will lose power, and maybe at that point, maybe you could form a third party, but that's a real tough task.
Does the Constitution say anything about having a strict two-party system?
No, there's nothing about the parties at all in the Constitution. In fact,
John
Adams was
the idea of two. Why have we adopted that idea?
John Adams was opposed to any party system just because of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, he was also a Federalist too. Like, the reality is, right? So if you think about logistics, right? We have infrastructure with the Republican Party. We have a system set up. All we have to do is replace those that are already in it. If we create a whole new party, we got to start from the ground up. Then we're going to have people that are against us in the Republican Party. Like, there is a perfectly good system, infrastructure, great people that are already willing to do something. And all we have to do is invade and take over. Like in Platte County right now, we have the biggest, it's literally a massive campaign where it's 10 versus 10, the establishment legacy versus the newcomers, the ones that took over the caucus and won when we went through the caucus situation during the presidential election. We're taking over. If you drive down one of our main roads in Platte City, which is Running Horse, you see more signs about Central Committee members than anything else. And to me, that's already a win, because people didn't even know it existed before. And if we get this seat, if we get these seats and if you start taking it up, if we take over the Republican Party, the state party, which is exactly how all this happens, everything starts crashing on them on the other side. Because it doesn't matter how much money anyone raises or all the propaganda they put out. It matters that the people know the truth. And the only way that we're going to overcome that is with boots on the ground in our local communities, and then holding the line where we're at home, and then coming and converging together. We already have a massive uptick in people getting involved. It's not as elevated and visual now, just because people like Robb Carter and Act for Missouri and People's Lobby are actually out here now. There's still been people doing these things. I was traveling the state 4 years ago, talking to amazing groups of people that were already getting involved. It's now coming to the forefront. I personally believe the idea of making a new party would tank our progress that we're already making now, because we're already infiltrating, and I wouldn't even say infiltrating, we're already reclaiming what is rightfully ours, and it's getting a very good reception, right? People are pissed off that conservatives against 4 and 5, no conservatives with a no on 4 and 5, that image that Allie Grafe made. I put that out a couple of days ago. It's got over 380 likes, right? Like, that's crazy in a small network of activists. I think people are awake. People are done with the BS. And I think we just need to keep being diligent, keep showing up, keep having these conversations, and take back the local county levels, the central committees, and keep educating people. Then all of a sudden, the lobbyists and the power that they used to have is completely diminished and damn near gone, because the people aren't listening to the propaganda. They're reading things for themselves. They're being educated themselves, and they have their own coalitions that they've formed at the local levels.
Gotcha.
I'd like to take it back to the state convention in 2024. I think what we're seeing with these amendments that we're voting on tomorrow and in the fall, a lot of them, the way they're written, was stemmed from that state convention, because they saw that when we were united, we took that state convention away from the establishment.
What did they do though, Mike? What did they do?
What they did is they found ways to
drove it right into a ditch.
And
Well,
that's
they only drove one thing into the ditch. Okay, let's be
At the
real clear.
at the
Right?
very end, you know.
We won everything. We
but
have
we
our RNC committee members are there. Our slate went, our presidential electors. We won everything except the change of the party at the end because they sabotaged us on quorum. But you know what that did? That put blood in the mouth of all those good people who woke up and goes,
Yep.
all right,
Yep.
we're done.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it scared the party establishment to death. I think that's why we see the exceptions in Amendment 3 to put a wedge in the group, because they just know that they have to knock off enough of these grassroots groups that they can maintain control. And I think that's why we're seeing these false choices in all these amendments. Yes, we need IP reform, but they're going to make it so that the true conservatives can't vote for it.
I mean,
Right.
don't take any.
You know,
I say don't take anything away from them. Whoever came up with these wedges, they were smart. They figured it out. You know,
they were smart, but I truly believe that's what we're seeing here. It stems back from that, because yes, they were able to salvage something at the end and something important on the platform, but they realized at that point they've got a big problem if we stay together.
That's right.
Josh, I want to make sure, if you have to go, brother, I know you're working today, so if you have to go, don't let us keep you too long. But I want to ask,
no worries.
I'll start with Mike and Amy. If you can think of 3 elections in the state of Missouri that you think we must have, because I know there's a lot of people you support, but if there were just 3, what are the 3 most important people, or the 3 people you think are best in the election right now coming up in the primaries that you would support? Are there 3 that kind of stand out in your
Yeah,
mind?
there's one that's really important, and it goes right to what you just said. You wanted to know, how do we change it? You've got a race between Curtis Trent and Lori Robb. Curtis is pegged to be the next floor leader. So if you want to change the system, you got to take him out, because he's already planned. He's going to get that. That's why all that money's coming in. Lori Robb,
if he wins tomorrow, he will be the floor leader. But if we can get Lori Rook victorious, we will take out their floor leader tomorrow.
So Lori Rook, number 1 for you.
Yep.
Number 2? Give me 3.
I'm going to say Bryant Wolfen, because we need his voice there. We need
we need Wolfen to stay in.
Okay.
Then you know, there's several that I put close to the same, but we need to strengthen the Senate. I'd say Ike Skelton, Dusty Blue. We need to build up the Senate so that we can block the crap, and the more of those candidates like that we get in there, Sam Alexander, the better chance we have of having a group that can actually stop legislation in its tracks in the Senate.
Gotcha. Let's go to Travis. Travis,
Yes,
you got 3 big ones that you are looking at?
we looking statewide or countywide, man, because we got a lot of stuff cooking here in the county.
That's a good point, Travis.
Yeah, your big ones. In the election in general, just 3 people that you think we've got to get these people elected. It could be St. Charles County. I know you're Jen Olson's number 1 for you.
Oh, for sure. So we'll put her aside. I'll give you 3 fresh ones here. I want to say Bill Eigel for county executive. And then more, very interestingly enough, our good old pal Mike Elam. I don't know if you remember him. He was the one that turned his back on the people during there. Well, he's running against Annette Seavey. So I would say Annette Seavey is the next important race in the county, as he is rumored to be the heir apparent to Steve Ellman. This guy, we just found out over the weekend, he spent $60,000 in a job that pays almost, barely $20,000.
And didn't he redirect a contract for his own company through the county executive? So he's on the committee. He redirects a contract to a company that he works for a couple $1 million. That seems like it's legit.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think data centers are on the horizon, this guy is the VP of a technology company. So you can put 2 and 2 together there. So I would say Annette Seavey, if she appears on your ballot, definitely need to get her elected.
You like Annette?
And I like Annette. I love Annette. She's awesome. I would say, man, I'm just gonna throw up 2 more. I know we said 3, but I'm gonna shill for my girl Judy Gambino and my man Max Calfo, run Mike Koslow out of office. I think Lake St. Louis has seen enough of him.
Let's give I got a Mike Calfo or a Max Calfo clip. If you don't mind getting that ready, I'm going to hear from Josh Lehman, then we'll bring up the Max. It's clip number 5, Isaiah. Josh, are there 3 or 4 people that you really are looking at that are important?
Absolutely. Lori Rook, Dusty Blue, Ike Skelton. Those are 3 champions in the Senate. That would be amazing to have. especially since we already have Mike Moon and we also have Joe Nicola. I mean, that would be a force to be reckoned with. And a lot of those, especially Trent, but also paying attention to these AFP endorsed candidates. So there's 6 of them in the Senate. I can't remember all of them, but it's, I'm not even going to say their names. But Lori Rook, Dusty Blue, Ike Skelton, definitely very important races. And then for us here in the county, man, we're trying to root out our Central Committee chairwoman, who is literally, they're the ones that they nominated Kinder over Eigel, right, when it came to the state party chair. And so this Platte County is essential in us being able to take back the state party. So Lord willing, and what's great is we've been out working campaigning. I've never campaigned before in my life. Been knocking doors, doing all kinds of stuff, and it's been a blast. So we'll have our watch party tomorrow night, and again, Lord willing, we'll get the seats we need.
And I've
Go
never,
Platte County, go go go.
Amen. I have never been. This is new to me. The state politics and watching everybody go for yard signs and knocking on doors. I'm kind of new to this. I don't remember it. It could be because I'm new. That's when I ask you guys, because you've been around the game a little bit longer than me. I've never seen so much interest on social media, conversations, people just asking me that listen to the show or know that I'm involved in politics, asking me for my opinions on amendments 4 and 5 and who I'm voting for. It seems to me that I've never seen this much energy around an election in Missouri politics. And I want to ask, is that because I'm involved now, or is this, does it seem bigger and more vibrant than it has in the past?
I would say 2 things. I'm gonna jump off, guys. Forgive me, but so one of the biggest things, okay, Facebook changed their policies on political content for up until 2026, right? They were throttling political content. I was seeing 10 to 15,000 views a month, which is very low for all the different stuff that's being put out that you think people are interested in. Since they switched that, now they're recommending it. 82% of my content engagement has been by suggestion by Facebook. That's unprecedented, right? And so I think the reason is I think everybody's been interested. They haven't seen anything. And now that the floodgates have been opened up, it's like now we're being able to come together. So I think it's the perfect storm. I think I really do think it's God, divine providence, putting things together. People are absolutely more engaged than they've been before because of what they've seen. But I think more than anything is the fact that we're no longer being shadow banned and throttled like we used to be before. You have X finally open, and then you have Facebook, where it's now suggesting content it used to throttle. So I think that's a huge difference.
Gotcha. I agree with you, by the way. It does seem like there's a lot of energy on Facebook. Holy cow. Travis, does it seem different to you, or does it seem like it was during Tea Party times? And does it seem like more of the same? Or does it feel like there's more energy this time around?
You know what? Oddly enough, this is different. This is definitely an educated populace. These people are asking better questions. I think there was a town hall event a few weeks ago. I mean, I was really shocked that standing ovation. These are conservatives that are against eliminate that are in favor of voting no on Amendment 4 and 5. Now, oddly enough, you guys brought up Scott Fawn earlier in his show. It seems like, we'll just put him in that establishment kind of bubble there. But their kind of read on this is that they think that 4 is the worst one, and that's going to bring down 5. Now, what I'm seeing on the grassroots side about it is everybody's saying that 5 is going to be the thing that brings down 4. So I think that's a recipe for disaster there. I don't think the timing could be any worse for these amendments to be on the ballot together. I think they're both going to be done.
But that just goes to show how the GOP is completely out of touch with their constituency.
Completely out of touch. You kind of see where their messaging was, kind of who they picked as kind of the leads on getting these messages out, or the town halls, or whoever. And it's like, man, you put all these people together, and we don't have to name the groups, but you look at kind of the main characters and you say, what could possibly go wrong there? I just don't see. It was a bad bill, and they definitely didn't put their best people forward to sell it.
Well, 2 things: either they just underestimated, couldn't read the room, or they just feel they're so untouchable that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the verbal abuse that people have received. I mean, these reasons that the conservatives are opposing 4 and 5. I mean, they're further to the right than the people that are in favor of these things. So
Yeah.
You know, it's just very, you know, commie, socialist, you know, really get out of here, dude. You know, we don't get it. Nobody has time for that.
I think a local radio personality just put something out and he said, those against 4 and 5, and he's got a picture of a rhino. So if you oppose 4 and 5, you're a rhino. So this is the way, this is what I mean about the, you know, the.
Oh yeah, you mean Mark Cox?
I think it was Mark Cox.
Yeah, what a jackass.
I mean,
You're a rhino.
This is what I'm saying about just the way they're fighting. This frustrates me with the Republican Party is the thing that I can't, my mind just won't let me jump over is if the elections are being manipulated. Let's just say let's say that's possible because I know that Travis believes they are. That's why he's so in favor of Jen Olson. But if the elections are being manipulated and then you have a system within the General Assembly where the Speaker of the House is taking an oath to keep the secrets and you're picking them in advance, I just see we're going to need money to really explain this to people because you get yourself into a situation where, you know, the vast voting public has no idea of the engine that is being the engine of implementation of policy in Missouri is being controlled by a handful of people. And their voices are just drowned out. And we got to get that message out. And the only thing that I can think of, if you got somebody coming in and spending $20 million to get Amendment 5 passed, you can only imagine the amount of money that's spent to control the message. You don't have a media sources. You don't have local networks that give you any kind of information. This is going to take a marketing campaign. That's going to take some money to get.
And that's just $20 million now. It's $45 million that Rex has spent since, you know, time essentially to eliminate it.
I would say look at the fact that we're winning.
Yeah,
we're winning.
About that.
We're winning. $26 million dumped into something, and we're going, no. It's got a 25% chance of winning, right? It's because people are engaged. I agree. Like, if we had more money, great. But I ain't got a dime. I got a dime. I think and we're still making headway.
Bro, that's the problem.
Yeah, I think that the paradigm is shifting now. You know, the dinosaur establishment, they don't have the talking points figured out. They don't know where the up and comers, you know, where we like to be tickled at, as Rob would say. You know,
way more of us.
There's way more. Yes. There's way more of us, and you see the amount of browbeating and all that. Yeah. I mean, these are generational decisions that these people are asking us to make, and you know, and then they'll say, well, you know, perfect is the enemy of the good and all that. These things better damn well be perfect, you know, because we're seeing. I mean, this is how long is it going to? You know, these things are impossible to reverse, so it better be perfect or close to perfect. I mean, I can apply a little bit of that to a statute, but if you're going to say something that even, you know, my grandkids might not be able to endorse or reverse, you know, we better have this damn thing tightened up, you know.
Right.
So
I think Rob, if you would have been to the convention, I think you would be as encouraged as we are. I know you heard the bad on the outside, but if you'd have been there, if you'd have seen the people, if you'd have understood that came from everybody individually in their own counties, we didn't know. We weren't even coordinating, right? We just showed up. So I think that's the biggest thing that's I'm super encouraged by it. I think we're doing fantastic.
You're seeing the wave of common sense come back. I want to play this clip for you guys really fast. This is Max Coughlin. I want to just lay this out for people who might not know what's going on.
I got to drop, guys.
See you, Josh. I appreciate you. Max Calfo is running against Mike Koslow out in the O'Fallon, Missouri area. Max Calfo comes from Jim Jordan's office in the federal government. He is a brilliant mind. He has been on the attack with Mike Koslow because he claims that Mike Koslow ran illegally because he was charged with a felony. He pled guilty to it. There's dispute about that in the Mike Koslow camp, but he is running. And I heard Travis mention him as somebody that we need to get into office. Here is a little bit of Max Calfo taking Mike Koslow to task. Check it out and tell me what you think.
Hello, Lake St. Louis, Garden Prairie, and Western O'Fallon. You are probably drowning in my opponent's campaign mail right now. This is just some of what he sent out over the past couple days, plus, of course, the Friday night dinner time text. And he's communicating with you on every issue under the sun except for Amendment 5. Why is that? Oh, it's because he supports Amendment 5, which of course is the plan that would potentially triple our sales taxes, dramatically increase our services taxes, and increase inflation for everyone. So no, he's not talking about that one. He is claiming to have, quote, proven results on energy prices and overdevelopment. He's claiming he's going to be the one cracking down on the data centers. Let me tell you, his data center bill went nowhere. He's not going to be cracking down on the data centers. His campaign is funded by the energy industry. Look it up on the Missouri Ethics Commission website. It's funded by them. He's also a former Ameren employee. Next, he is saying that he's gotten proven results on overdevelopment. Don't know if he's ever driven down Route N, but there are no proven results there.
Right,
that is for sure.
We'll get a flavor of it.
He's also claimed.
Now, what is your take, Travis? Because I know you're a big supporter of Max Calfo. What is your take on him? Why do you think that's an important election?
I just know that the history that Caso has had. He's very disrespectful to citizens in a lot of cases. We'll argue with you about everything. You look at him as a legislator. He doesn't get anything passed. It's been brought to his attention. We look at, I think the big knock on him is him and another Republican voted to kill SEPA in a committee, which is our Second Amendment Preservation Act, which is huge for Missouri gun owners. I don't think how he thinks that he knows better than all the other Republicans that came and voted in favor of it ahead of him. Bob Onder, Denny Hoskins, all these big names in the Republican Party, but he comes in and
he put out
some.
Did you see the explanation that he put out on that by chance?
I did see that explanation, but again, that goes back to him thinking he knows better than all the Republicans. This guy was not a Republican until 2024. Whenever he put his name on there, he was always independent up until then. Which that's completely his right to declare a party affiliation. But I think when a guy comes like that, kind of comes into the party and doesn't respect the apparatus, I think that should give every voter pause. Now we look at things like data centers. He said he was going to be against data centers. His bills don't do anything. The guy worked for Amarin. He's the biggest cheerleader out there. You look at him. There's nothing bad. I mean, you can't even have a real conversation with the guy about Amendment 5. It's all talking points and BS. So no, I think that he's a career politician in the making. I think Lake St. Louis and O'Fallon, which is an area that my district does oversee, they would be much better suited with Max Calfo at the helm for District 108. So if he does appear on your ballot, vote for Max Calfo 100%.
Max Calfo. And do you guys know Max Calfo? Mike, Amy, do you know him?
I've met him a couple times. I think he is going to be definitely going to be better than Koslow. And I don't know him as well as Travis does, but I trust Travis's opinion on that. But my interactions with him have been positive, so I'd like to see Max in there for sure.
So he holds. So Max, I've had him on the show a couple times. I think he's hilarious. Had dinner with him and a guy named Danny Define not too long ago, and he starts talking about history. So apparently, I think he went to Yale. He is the number one. So some kind of contest that they had. He is the number one. Ranked number one as far as American history from 1800 to present. You can give him any year and he'll tell you a major piece of legislation from 1800 to now. And he's just amazing when you start talking to him. He'll go through history and he's like a computer, and as you can see his brain running.
300 IQ or something.
He's a genius type character. So anyway, Max Calfo. Wow. All right, guys, we got to bring in, got to do some advertising and bring in our next guest. Anything else you want to say before primary day? I'll start with Travis and then I'll go to Mike and then Amy.
I would just say after the smoke clears, there's still work to do. So tomorrow's going to be a good one. If you know anybody in the St. Charles County area, get out and get them to support Jen Olson or any other candidates. We've got some really good ones. Sean Noel is running for county executive presiding commissioner down there in Franklin County. Show him some
Yes, we need him. That's where I live.
Absolutely. That was another name that you didn't mention. Best of luck to all the candidates, and I guess we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So we just dropped a web page where you can go and see what your knowledge base is on Amendments 4 and 5. The reason we put that out there is you can share it with your friends. When people are saying, "I'm just confused, I don't understand it," tell them if you just can't get it, or you just can't get there, it's okay to vote no. In fact, voting no, it's going to be much easier for them to come back and give us better legislation in the future than it will be to remove bad legislation that we put in our Constitution. So if you don't know and you haven't studied up on it, or you have and it just doesn't make sense to you, don't think that there's anything wrong with you. Just say no.
Mike Compton, also a genius. All right, Amy, last word.
Yeah, I'm going to double up on that and say no, or just it's okay. You can leave it blank. So you do not have to fill in everything. You can also take in your cheat sheet when you vote. You can take in your list of the things you want to do. I just want to say I've been so proud and impressed with all the people as we've done this. We had very few people paying attention, and those numbers have just grown consistently. I mean, the numbers that are picking up our voter guide on our website are almost 100 or more a day. So they're going to that. They're using it. So good job, Missouri, for getting informed and asking tough questions and putting the pressure on. It's up to us. It's up to us. And so far, I mean, I think we've got them running to the hills.
Amen. All right.
And
go ahead, Mike.
I just say one more thing. We're going to be online tomorrow night, starting at 7. If you need to jump on, we'll talk about the results as we see them come in. Talk about what's going on. Just an online watch party, basically, for everybody.
Bring your popcorn.
Bring your popcorn. Michael Compton, Amy Castro, Josh Lehman, Travis Hines, the Grassroots Roundtable. Thank you, guys. We got to do this more often. I think people will.
This is fun.
Yeah, I think they'll have an understanding of where we're coming from, because we get demonized sometimes from the other side. And I think we're just rational people trying to figure out solutions and make our state better. That's really all we're up to. Have a great day, you guys.
Yep, you too.
You too. Thanks, Rob.
See you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Travis. All right. Got to bring in our next guest because we're going to try and stay on schedule here. This is Deputy Political Director of the Missouri GOP. This is Colton Tausig. And as I understand it, and Isaiah, you have a little bit more insight than I do. He wrote an op-ed in favor of Amendment 5. So we want to pick his brain about Amendment 5, see why he likes it, and see what he thinks it means. So let's bring in.
Did you want to do it? You said you want to do some advertisers.
Yeah, we'll do it after this. I want to keep this guy on time.
Cool. Perfect. Let's do it.
All right.
Hello. Yes, this is.
There he is. All right.
Howdy.
You are a young guy.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show. And first question I have to ask you, because we have not met. First thing I'm hearing about you is coming from Isaiah. He said this is a young guy that's got a strong opinion about A5. First thing, when I see this title, it's a very hefty title. First of all, how old are you? I got to ask, because you look like you're about 25.
Yeah, well, I just turned 23, so everything's going pretty well.
Right on. I love it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob. I really appreciate it. Can I call you Rob? Does that work?
Yeah, of course. I love that you're invested in politics, man. I love it when young people get involved. So, Deputy Political Director of the Missouri GOP. How do you get that title? What is the process? Do they recruit you out of college? How do you get a title of this nature?
Well, yeah. Well, I would say one thing more than anything else is been in the political game for a while now. I mean, volunteered with Burleson. I did work as an intern for Senator Hawley last summer. And I went, a little bit of opportunity. I was able to study abroad. So I went to school at Queen's University, Belfast for full-time, 3 years in Northern Ireland, had opportunities to study in Switzerland. I mean, I even went to China to study state capitalism. So I've had a lot of experience to, explore and then also build what we might call a big resume. And of course, I've known the current political director of the Missouri GOP, Chandler, for a long time. And so wanted to give him my services if I could be of help. Started as the regional political director here in Springfield, and then, kind of have become a personal assistant and just making sure everything goes smoothly, making sure we get everything on time, running queues, et cetera, et cetera. So
what was what was your take on your travels? Because I've been to China as well. What was your take on China? Number one, how long were you there? What was your take of the culture and the government?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I was there for about a month. And I spent time, went through the entire country, kind of starting in Changsha, looped all the way down to Hong Kong, back up to Beijing, meeting with lots of people, meeting with both students and professors. And I would say 3 things. One, the thing that we should worry about with China, I myself am somewhat of a China hawk. The only thing that I would be concerned about with China isn't so much innovation as it is with scale. The ability to scale things is honestly unparalleled. And especially with state capitalism, them utilizing, the government, they have 60% of the market is state-owned enterprises. The other 40% has political communities wrapped in with the party. Their ability to quickly direct the market to whatever objectives they have, good or bad. You'd think it would be totally inefficient, and the state-owned enterprises are in some degree inefficient, but able to do like big scaling events, big scale infrastructure, big scale projects. It's unmatched. So when I look at scaling, that's the one thing, just looking at China's infrastructure. Culture, very respectful culture. My time there was very good. The people were very friendly to me, right? Once again, just personal experience talking.
My experience as well.
But the politics, of course, the politics are the politics. They can't be avoided.
You can't even talk about politics, really. When I try to,
you got to be, you have to be so careful. and really, really stem the conversation from a place of curiosity.
Right.
And if you talked about it in a place of curiosity and just want to know, like, what is this? What is this like? Tell me about that without any judgment or any, like the classic question. I heard you can't criticize your government. Well, that's not going to get you anywhere. The best thing to ask first off is like, what does political dialogue look like in the country? I'd really be curious to know, what does it look like within the party, within the infrastructure for dialogue from the citizenry to the party? How does that look? You know what I mean? And you're able to get a lot better answer regarding how the actual system and operation runs. So thoroughly enjoyed my time there. It was really good.
Switzerland was the other one?
What was that?
What was the other place you studied? Switzerland?
Switzerland, yes. I went to the University of Geneva. I was there for a semester.
Okay, so what's your take on, because that's the global political scene in Geneva.
Yes.
So what is your take on what you learned in Geneva?
Well, a few things that we're looking at it from a global perspective. One, Chinese influence is getting bigger and bigger. I attended the Swiss Chinese ambassador meeting. They were celebrating the Chinese New Year. And what you'll notice, talking with some of my professors, they were quick to mention that China has taken the opportunity of Europe's hate for America currently. I mean, hate might be a strong word, but they definitely don't love us right now. And they're taking the opportunity to grow and expand influence. And so that is something I have seen bigger and bigger, both when it comes to the international stream of like students, as well as when it comes to heck, even like businesses, restaurants. They opened up Chinese restaurants. That's new for Switzerland. Switzerland's like, we used to have no Chinese restaurants. And then also just Chinese political pairings with like the ambassador to Switzerland and the Swiss ambassador, shaking hands, having good times. They've definitely trying to pitch themselves as the alternative to America. And that should concern all of us. But
I've got Casey Fleming coming on to talk about that. I think this Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So he'll be coming on to talk about that. I got one more question because I don't know if I got this answer. I'm always trying to figure out how you get into these positions. So is this a resume thing where you send a resume in and you come in for an interview? Is this something where you're connected to somebody in politics and they say, hey, this young guy, Colton Tausig, is the real deal. Let's bring him in and let's bring him into the Missouri Republican Party. How does this thing happen? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a slow resume build out. Start out in 2022, did the volunteer thing, worked for Burleson's constituent service office, used that to leverage to work with Hawley's office, build that resume, build it up, then use that, call up the political director, say, hey, here's my resume. We have a call, we have a chat. This looks great. Let's do it. And then just, work hard too. That matters as well.
Yeah. I'm curious how the process works. Okay. Got to ask you this because you are a pro A5. Give us your pitch for A5 because I'm going to challenge you on it just a little bit, but in a respectful
Please do. I think that's the thing that we need to get to is dialogue, right? And dialogue can take place just by us getting to the facts, what it says, what it doesn't say, what our assumptions are, right?
Bingo.
And so to me, my pitch for A5 is I'm for eliminating the state income tax. I think the best way to do that is to, in effect, through revenue neutral triggers, through growth, to slowly phase it out. Unlike the sign behind me, which says axe the tax, what we're really trying to say is we're going to slowly phase out the tax in order to just, ultimately give people more of what's theirs, which is their income taxes. There's a lot of critical notes regarding what A5 does and what it doesn't do. And I'm all to talk about that in dialogue with Robb. But I just think baseline, let's eliminate the state income tax. Let's have more people have that money in their pocket to spend how they like. That seems to me to be the conservative mindset, individual responsibility and the opportunity to use what we have and for the government to give it back. And then there's, of course, the whole host of questions that go in regarding what that entails, how we're actually going to eliminate the state income tax. And I think that's where the debate really is today.
Yeah. So let me start with where we agree. I like consumption taxes. I've made this clear before I even knew this was happening.
Yes.
Consumption taxes over income taxes. A couple arguments. One of them is the Missouri government could eliminate income taxes without going around the Hancock Amendment, whether it's being suspended, if you're working around it, what have you. There's a lot of people in the grassroots movement that say, why don't we just get rid of the income tax? Why do we need to trade off these taxes? What do you say to that argument?
Yeah, I would say, well, there's a few answers. One answer I have would be that when looking at the income tax and looking at the phase out, looking at how they're responding to the question, I guess I'd put myself in the shoes of when I'd say that. Oh, good golly, I apologize. I'm having a Joe Biden moment right now.
That's all right.
My mind is totally scrambled.
We're in no hurry.
Yeah. Repeat the question for me just one more time.
Well, the argument coming from a lot of the grassroots people is why not just get rid of the income tax? Why switch the tax? Because they're looking at saying, okay,
and even not just that, it's that we can already do it right now with the.
Right, you can do it as is, and you're asking the voters to say, wait a minute, we're going to work around or we're going to suspend the Hancock Amendment. That's why we need your support on it. Why not just put forth a framework to get rid of, or a plan to get rid of the income tax? Why go to the voters and say we're going to transfer taxes versus just saying, hey, we don't like the income tax. We think it hurts people. It hampers production. So therefore we're going to get rid of the income tax, but we're not going to mess with the other taxes. We just want to get rid of the income tax. Why not go in that manner?
Yeah, I would say looking at that, thank you. That really cleared it up for me. There's two things. One, I would say to the grassroots, I believe Section 28, Article 10 in the Constitution of Missouri basically says that I have to operate the state income tax like the United States of Missouri. I believe that's right here in Section 26. Or no, pardon me, that's regarding tax exemptions. I would say then, just going back to my other response, this is a way to just gradually remove it. It requires,
but it's a transfer. I mean, nobody's.
Transfer. I think is maybe a strong word. Just like substantially equal, right?
Right.
But what I would say is there's a calculation here that we're going to be transferring, all taxes to sales tax and expanding sales tax. And I just think that the numbers there aren't necessarily what the framers are trying to push. So you got like the $8.5 billion hole. You've got a lot of people arguing with the fiscal note saying that, this is going to create a huge budget issue, or that, this is going to create a series of problems regarding the revenue triggers. Are there actually going to be revenue triggers, or there's no revenue triggers? I would just say that when looking at the actual issue, this is a way in which we as a legislature can all come to agreement and slowly phase out the income tax, while also keeping our state budget and addressing the state budget, of course. But there's a reality where, we're having a budget issue. And in order to eliminate the state income tax, the budget issue gets a lot worse if you're just going to do it outright without any slow provision, without any checks or balances, and without, whether we like it or not, without a little bit of like having to say, we can't just cut all these taxes at once. We actually have to slowly subsidize certain taxes over this way and certain taxes over this way, so that we don't create a fiscal hole. Because when you look at, like, for example, Kansas, they tried a income phase through, exempting pass-through income, and they just did it on a set date, eliminated the income tax. They just did it. And it created a huge mess, an absolute mess, a huge hole. And in the end, retroactively in 2015, had to bring in and expand the sales tax anyways. You know what I mean? And I think we've learned from Kansas. I know Mississippi has in its 2022 and 2025 phase outs. North Carolina had a gradual phase cut in 2013. And we've done phase cuts from 6% to 4.7%. I think the best solution is to allow us to create an opportunity to where we can use the legislature to, remove the income tax in a way that is gradual, in a way that takes into account to our current budget scenario, which for all intents and purposes, Scott Fitzpatrick, who's pro-5, basically said the budget and A5 are a separate issue. But I can tell you right now, if we just eliminate the state income tax, just full send it, without understanding how we're going to pay for everything else that we're currently holding, we're going to make our lives a lot worse. And so to me, I get the grassroots concern and I appreciate it. And I think, that's a fair concern. I would respond that this opportunity is the best way to phase it through without running into any possible failures, making that $8.5 billion number real. This allows the legislature to do its job. And
Are you aware of the method that was used to cut it from 6 to where it is now?
From what I've been aware, there was laid out triggers set. Whereas the current amendment plan gives us 5 years to make a similar plan. That's kind of the philosophy that the GOP has been touting, which is something like the 6% to 4.7 is excellent. At the same time, we have to account for what the budget can be in the future and allow us to have flexibility. And that flexibility is going to really, if we need that flexibility regarding this next 5 year period. And I really do think we're going to, honestly, when A5 is passed, I really do think we're going to get something very similar to the 6 to 4.7%. And it's going to be like revenue growth, right? When we lowered the cap to 4.7, we ended up gaining 50% revenue from 2020 to 2025, from 9 billion to more than 13 billion. And I'm willing to account inflation and federal dollars helped. I won't deny that note. But what I will say is, the same people who are saying that these problems are going to be occurring, these budget cliffs, these the big bad numbers are going to come our way, are the same people who said it's going to happen in 2014. It's going to happen in 2018. You know what I mean? When we removed capital gains tax, these big financial cliffs. I don't think that's going to happen. And I will say only Missourians pay Missourian income tax. Everybody, tourists included, pay sales tax.
I think that's a good argument for you guys. That's one of the arguments that I like. You're saying, okay, if you raise the sales and service taxes, a lot of
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
The state are going to take the burden of those taxes on, which I think is a good argument. I do. I want to play this for you. This is a guy named Bruce Sassman. He is running against my buddy John Grady, and I highly advise people in that area to vote for John Grady. This is my take on it. But Bruce Sassman and John Grady were in a debate recently. And Bruce Sassman had to say this about A5. And again, I think this kind of crystallizes why people are concerned about it. Clip number 2. I think this is a Republican who currently is in the House of Representatives. This is what he had to say about Amendment 5. And I think it caught people as to, wait a minute, this is already what we're arguing. Check it out. Clip number 2.
August 5th comes around, the end of this, and we learn what the outcome is going to be to Amendment 4, Amendment 5. If Amendment 5 passes, the legislature has to go to work and figure out some solutions. It is possible that the legislature can't find a fix. And if that doesn't happen in the first 5 years, then we go back to the way things were. I'm hopeful that the legislators will protect senior citizens. They'll protect those poorest in our community. What is it? State's motto? Show me. Let the welfare of the people be the supreme law. I really wish we could go back to that. Let the welfare of the people be the supreme law. I hope we can make this work. I hope we.
So what he's saying there is if A5 passes, the legislature has to come up with a fix. This has been my biggest argument with everybody. And look, I love both sides. I'm not somebody who's looking to cram it up the tail of somebody who disagrees with me. That's not where I'm coming from. But I look at it and I say, you may not know this because you're 23 years old. You might not have been for the last 10 or 15 years of Missouri Republican politics. But
right. I'm a new,
So just why people are pushing back on the current governor of the state of Missouri is responsible and instrumental in passing a gas tax, which the people didn't want. So you're already looking at it going, okay, the guy that is pushing for Amendment 5, the guy that ran on it and campaigned on getting rid of the income tax is also the one who raised the gasoline taxes. And conservatives don't like when you raise gasoline taxes. That irritates them a little bit. So they're already just a little bit suspect. So when you come back and you say, we're going to put a framework, and I like Bishop Davidson. I've been talking to him a lot. I got no issue with Bishop. I should say I like him. I don't know enough to like him, but he's been cordial to me. And he gives me all his reasoning for it. And I said, Bishop, I think what you guys are missing is there's a trust level that has been broken with the Missouri grassroots. And there's a lot of us. There's a lot of people that are influenced by what we have to say. There's a lot of people in that. And when you have somebody like Sassman stand up and say, we don't really know what the fix is, that's been my argument the whole time. If you give us a framework, which I like the framework, I've read the framework. I don't know what the legalities of it are going to be, or whether a future legislation might alter it just a little bit. That I don't know. I don't know how legally sound it is. I just don't know. But when you say there's going to be a fix later, that is the argument that we're making. Why not if you got this plan that you think is going to work, why not lay out that plan so we can look at it and say, okay, what services are going to be taxed at what rate, and give us a sense of how you plan to execute this framework so that we know what we're voting on. Right now, what you're saying is we're going to offer you up a framework. We're going to get rid of income taxes, which sounds wonderful. I mean, I've moved to Florida. I've told everybody I moved to Florida to escape Missouri income taxes. Okay, so I'm telling you where I'm coming from. But I also would like to know if I'm going to vote on something where a governor's leading it, who raised the gasoline tax and now says he's going to give us a framework for legislation that would get rid of income taxes, but doesn't tell me how he's going to pay for it with sales and use. It doesn't tell me the industries. I have a problem with that because I don't know where you're going with it. I don't know what you're going to do, and I got to leave it up to people I'm not really trustworthy of. Do you understand that argument at least? And if you do,
yes, no, I absolutely do, and I have a heart, and I want to know that I want everyone to know that I hear you and that I understand where you're coming from. I would have two things that I just want to put on people's minds as we approach that. The first thing would be specifically when it comes to trust in government. I mean, I will say for all things government, right? There's love and there's hate. I would say there's been a generational decline in trust in all institutions, period. Right. That, there's a fair critique there. A question I still have is we still, for better and for worse, we operate within institutions. And institutions have power, they have strength, and that's good because they can affect change at a broad impact. When looking at Governor Kehoe's recent responses, I would look to his record as a whole, not merely his record on the gas tax, and then let Missourians, look at the view of what he's done for them, and make a judgment from there, rather than just one instance, right? Because we do the same thing with the president. We do the same thing with our senators. And I think, to me, there's always going to be cases in which some things we don't like, some things don't sit well with us. I can understand that. And at the same time, still say, right, well, 9 times out of 10 is better than 0 out of 10. And then 2, when it comes to planning, I think the biggest thing there that I think maybe we're missing in the conversation, and maybe this is just me, is flexibility versus rigidity, right? Because the one thing that A5 does offer in view, right, in virtue of its what you might call vagueness or failure to fully articulate itself, right. I would personally look at as flexibility and mobility to adjust to what the tax base does, to adjust to what the economy does, to be further dynamic in the legislative field, so that we can correspondingly respond as things shift and change. That mobility, that flexibility, that A5, for better and for worse, does offer as a framework, allows us to, in my personal opinion, properly observe, take feedback, and respond through those 5 years. If we were just to give you a straight budget, then we can't assume things all about the economy, and that you never know what's going to happen, right? And so if you're not able to adjust, if you're not able to be flexible or mobile with the policy position, then there's, of course, a possibility where things actually do go, horribly wrong. And there's no way to respond to it. And so I would say the vague, from the grassroots, they understand it as vagueness, properly on purpose, right? Possibly on purpose. I would see as flexibility. I would see as mobility in order to respond to the current economic situations that come our way in the future. So that would be my 2 responses: one toward Kehoe, and then the other towards the articulated vagueness. Yeah,
you got it. I was going to ask you too, because we're looking at these, I think it's called Kalshi. These people have been sending me the odds on these amendments passing 4 and 5, and they both, according to, I don't even know what it is, quite honestly, so I don't know if it means anything, but it says that the odds are stacked against you on these betting odds. What is your take? What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? Do you think that people are going to pass A5, A4? What's your gut feeling?
Yeah, I would just say it's definitely going to be, for me, right, I would say it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough call. I think there have been valid concerns given by the grassroots. And, I'm not here to dismiss those concerns. Right. At the same time, I am of the opinion that this is going to be helpful for the state of Missouri. It's going to come down to what the people have heard, what they've received from both the grassroots, from the GOP, how communication has worked. I think it's going to be a toss up. I think it could go either way. I mean, we're trying our best to get out proper messaging, to try to give a proper balanced act so Republicans feel like we're responding to their concerns and that they hear us. That's part of the reason why I was so grateful for the opportunity to speak on this show. But in the end, I think it's going to. Oh, that's sweet of you, Rob. That's sweet of you.
I want to have conversations with young people because I think, listen, I think everybody's trying to do the right thing. I think there are some charlatans in both parties. I really do. They do things out of ego and motive, and that motive isn't always the people. But I think the conversation, that's what Isaiah wanted to have you on the show for. Is the conversation is where we need to get to, so that people can see and make determinations based on not only what we're told.
That's what Charlie died for.
Exactly. And if the legislation passes, then we get to monitor whether it worked or didn't work and so forth. So I think having these conversations helps all Missouri voters to understand where people are coming from. I got to ask you just a couple quick questions before we leave. So are you living in Jefferson City? Are you in Jefferson City now?
No, I'm currently in Springfield. So I was, before the DPD promotion was pretty recent, I was RPD over Springfield, regional political director. And the political director is kind of based in Springfield as well. He travels up to Jeff City plenty of times, but that was able, for that connection to work. I live outside of Springfield.
You're not moving to Jefferson City?
Maybe after the primary season, there may be a point in which I need to move there. And if I need to for the job, I will. I've got some friends up there who would offer me a nice apartment offer. They give me a good offer. So
you're in Jefferson City. We want to come down. We want to talk with you. If you can invite us into the offices of some of these people. We are respectful people. I know that we get a little bit hyperbolic when we fight against things that we believe in. Of
course. That's just,
we just want to hear from everybody. We want to get a sense of what's going on up there. And if you could be the conduit to that, that'd be wonderful.
Of course.
Right on.
We'll definitely keep in touch and keep chatting. So all good things.
Yeah.
Colton Tausig. Isaiah, if you got anything for him, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, my mic was cutting out there. I just want to say thanks for coming on. I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people that push back because we have a pro A5 person on here, but the purpose of the show is to have conversations with people that we agree with, disagree with, doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Whether we believe their point of view, we don't believe their point of view. That's the point of having these conversations, and exactly why we wanted to invite you on, because I see a lot of people in the comments, they're not happy that we're having you on right now, but to those people, that's the purpose of why we wanted to have Colton on, is to hear his point of view. Everyone has a point of view, and we should respect their point of view, even if we disagree with it. And the thing I appreciated about Colton, Robb, is that he's someone that works for the Missouri GOP, but he's one of the few people in that ring that wasn't attacking people's character or trying to undermine people. And he was just saying, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's talk these points out. This is what I agree. This is why I think we should vote for it. That's why I don't agree it. And so just thank you for doing that, Colton. I appreciate that. And that's why we have him on, guys. That's why we have all these people on. Whether we agree or don't agree, it's to have these conversations so everyone can have an educated decision. That's what we want.
We do not intend to be in an echo chamber. That's for sure. Yeah. Colton, I appreciate your time, brother. Enjoy your day. I'll be in touch with you soon. I'm sure Isaiah will as well. And look forward to meeting you.
Absolutely. Hey, Godspeed, gents. Have a good one.
Colton Tausig, everybody. Again, listen to this pretty impressive title here. Deputy Political Director of Missouri's GOP. Deputy Political Director. 23 years old. All right.
Yeah. He did it the right way. Volunteering, getting into a campaign, interning. That's the way that I've heard that's the route. I've heard that since my early 20s as well.
I don't think that there is going to be any way to get around the trust issue. I don't. And I think that is the bottom line. And I think that that's what the Republican Party must address. And again, that's why we had the grassroots roundtable. This is the issue of the people in the Republican Party. If they don't want to continually be pushed back on with everything that they do, the contentious conversations that are going on between leadership and the grassroots community, that is only going to end when you start to regain trust with us. If you don't regain trust me, when I would just say to the people in the Republican Party, you're at step one. You can only imagine what this is going to be like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. If you don't get your party in line, and I'm talking about the Republican Party because they're in charge. If you don't get your party in line, this is going to get 10 times worse. You're at the beginning stages. You have no idea where this is going. The people are beginning, because of Act for Missouri, because of the Shield Maidens, because of Rhino Watch, because of People's Lobby Missouri, because of some of the people that are in the House and the Senate, like Mike Moon and Bryant Wolfen, communicating with us. this is only going to get louder and more intrusive. You guys need to have these conversations with us. You need to hear what we're saying. You need to be reacting to what we are saying. You need to be out front, and you need to regain the trust of the grassroots, or you're just going to constantly be heckled and irritated, and at some point it's going to drive you mad. Pressure drives people mad. There's no doubt. When I coach sports, I used to say to my baseball team, what do we want to do? We want to put pressure on the other team. What we don't do is we don't feel pressure because we don't make mistakes. We practice the things that win baseball games, and the other teams will crack simply because in a 1-1 game in the 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th inning, all of a sudden pressure affects your performance. Same thing's going to happen here. There's going to be so much pressure applied over time that you're not going to be comfortable in your own skin. You're not going to be looking to big donors. You're not going to be looking for your next big job when you get out of the house. You're not going to be looking to lobbyists for all of the attention, all the adulation, and all the goodies. That is going to go away because the pressure from the community is going to outweigh all of that. That's what's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. That is going to happen. All right, got to get some advertisers in. We'll bring in John Casey. Look at you. Yes.
Yes. I mean, we have so many and it's just so little time.
Let's do Jones, Valvoline, and Advanced.
Jones, Valvoline, and Advanced.
He was in there. He said he's
JonesWater.com. JonesWater.com.
So Jones, he is somebody that says we should evaluate whether we should even be paying taxes. He believes they're illegal.
Oh, he sent me a lot of information over the weekend.
He is relentless, and I think he's right. And my argument with him has always been enforcement. That's all I argue with him about. I think he's right. I think I've done enough study to recognize that he's right. We got to figure out whether if it's illegal to arrest me for something, but you arrest me anyway, and the courts are complicit, do I win? That's been my argument. That's what I got to get to.
No justice in the law, Rob.
There's no justice in the law. That is my problem. So we got to, I think the number one idea is to work within the system we have, bring awareness to it, and then take it apart piece by piece and rebuild it the way it was intentionally meant to be. JonesWater.com. That's my opinion. JonesWater.com, JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. My good friend Everett Jones. If you do not have a water or air purification system in your home or business, you should. That's just my advice to you. If you want to protect your home and family from all those little illnesses that you get that you can't really kind of figure out why, your nose gets stuffed up in the middle of the night, you end up with these little rashes, and you're like, what is going on around here? Well, just think of your environment. If you are drinking water with chemicals in it, if you are breathing air with nastiness in it, aren't you ultimately going to have those little ailments that constantly bother you? Why not eliminate them? It's not all that expensive. In fact, it's relatively inexpensive for what you're getting. And wouldn't all parents want to have clean air and clean water in their house for their kids and their grandparents? Of course. You got to go to JonesWater.com. He knows more about water and air than anybody you're ever going to talk to. If you want to do business with Everett Jones, and I suggest you do, he does business in Missouri, in St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson, on the east side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. As he likes to say, you'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. Again, he's been around since 1995. He knows everybody in Missouri because he's been around the political scene for a long time. He's opinionated, great family. I adore the family. We'll get Marissa, his daughter, back on pretty soon because
I told you about my deputy city clerk here in St. Clair. She said, Everett Jones? When I said Jones Water, I was like, yeah, how do you know Everett Jones? That's crazy.
It's an awesome family. He's an awesome guy. And once he starts talking to you, you'll like him, but he is, I think what he does is a great service to the people of Missouri. If you do not have clean air and clean water in your home or business, you're making a huge mistake. Just take my word for it. You'll love your life. You'll feel better. Just look at the water coming out of the faucet versus purified water. Look at the air when it's purified. Feel it, taste it, smell it. You'll recognize a huge difference when you have clean air and clean water in your home or business. You'll feel better. You'll certainly understand it. And why wouldn't you take that step? That's an easy one. Clean air, clean water. JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. And then we have Valvoline Express Care. When it's time for an oil change, it's always Valvoline Express Care. You don't get oil changes anywhere else, and you should have that sticker in your window. At least that's my plea to this audience. Valvoline Express Care, Valvoline-expresscare.com, Valvoline-expresscare.com. Go get your coupons. Look up the locations. This is our good friend Tony Clark. He's been with us for a long, long time. As I tell everybody, listen to me. Our advertisers do not agree with every word that I say. They just agree that I have the right to say it. And that is about free speech. And the people that support free speech support the journalistic credibility of this program. You got to work with them. We have to create a family. We have to create a family, or this does not go anywhere. We have to do that. And I say, if you got a car, you're going to need an oil change. Let me give you the locations, Isaiah, if you don't mind. This is where you can find Tony Clark's Valvoline Express Cares. Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Highland, Illinois, Troy, Illinois, Lime Ferry Road, Warrenton, Missouri, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, and St. Peter's Parkway. Great oil changes, great environment, 15 minutes from bay to on your way. So when you come in, you get quick, efficient oil changes, no upcharges, no appointments, no sales pressure, none of that nonsense. All Valvoline branded products. Again, Valvoline Express Care. I say that if you need coupons, go to Valvoline-expresscare.com. Our good friend Tony Clark. When it's time for an oil change, it's always Valvoline Express Care. If you don't have that sticker in your window, it's just impossible for us to be your friend. And then my good friend, Dr. Helen Gelhot. We have a guy on tomorrow that is going to talk about evolution and creation. His name is Hugh Owen. I cannot wait for that conversation. So we'll get a little bit biblical tomorrow. We'll talk about evolution and creation. I talked to him just a little bit yesterday. Seems like a wonderful guy. I think that's going to be a very interesting conversation. Dr. Helen Gelhot from advancedwellnessmed.com. Dr. Helen Gelhot. Now, she specializes in all things that kill you. So cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, strokes, heart attacks, anything that destroys your life. She is a specialist in it. Feel, think, look better, and live longer. That is her credo, and she assists the divine healer. So she has the earliest the earliest cancer detection blood test in the business. I shouldn't say in the business, available. Alzheimer's, dementia, and symptom reversal. So if you have Alzheimer or know somebody in the family or a friend that has Alzheimer's and dementia, she has techniques that will reverse the symptoms. Cannot stress how important that is. If you know somebody in the family that is struggling, that you get that call made immediately to Dr. Helen Gelhot. Get this number, write it down, and trust me when I tell you, this is the best call you're going to make if you have somebody in the family that is struggling with Alzheimer's and dementia. 314-576-0094. 314-576-0094. Or you can check out the website at advancedwellnessmed.com. All right, let's bring in John Casey, another young guy. He's running against Eric Burleson for U.S. Congress, and we had him on the show back in the radio days, way back when. I liked you then. I still like you. What's going on, brother? I know you're in the construction business. You're a military guy. You're up against a machine, baby, with Eric Burleson. How has the campaign worked for you? How has the Republican Party treated you? What are people talking about when you knock on doors? We're going to get to all of it. So let's start with just who you are, why you're running, and how the campaign has been.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. I'm a blue collar worker here in Southwest Missouri. I was actually born in Springfield, and I graduated here in Republic, and then I went straight to the Marine Corps. I met my wife after being there, and then finished my contract. Came back to Missouri, and I've been here since. And I now have 4 boys, and that's really my driving factor to really why I'm doing all these things. Like all these other guys you've been talking to recently, it's really kind of inspiring to see that there's other voices out here that are kind of seeing what I'm seeing and saying what I'm saying. But, in these different regions of Missouri that you're talking to, like Tyler Burks, I just think it's completely insane. Some of these things that we've seen on the federal level that we're trying to expose, a lot of the foreign influence that's been going on, and a lot of the complete non-traction we've had in Congress and in the House on really anything for the American people. There's been nothing domestically pushed forward. So I think there's a huge hunger for the American people for real change. And right now, I feel like it's really just in this last year has really just exposed, the GOP swamp machine, really what it is, and how much we really need to get in there and change that. So I really love seeing these grassroots folks in different areas coming up and really wanting to make a real difference. And being a blue collar worker, that's kind of really where my story starts. I believe we need to have serious immigration reform, and I feel like we've not actually seen that at all on the federal level. I believe all we've really seen is really just rhetoric. And even some of the rhetoric we've seen from the president has been completely upsetting to me as someone that believes we need serious immigration restrictions. He believes.
Before you go any further, because I'm with you.
Yeah.
What kind of response do you get when you say that out loud? Because I find that I was on the Trump campaign in 2016, and nobody has more street cred. I have friends in here that will tell you that. Charlie's in here. My buddy Bill is in here. They know all the way back 10 years ago, I was putting my neck on the line for Donald Trump, and I disagree with the Iran war. I disagree with just dismissing the Epstein files. I disagree with passing Democrat budgets. I disagree with a lot of things. I disagree with the fact that he said he was going to cut the energy bills in half in his first 12 months and hold him accountable if he doesn't, and then they double for a lot of people. So I disagree with some of these things. But when I say that, people attack me. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Weren't you formed in 2016 when he said these things? If he's not doing them, why are you attacking me? I'm just bringing it to your attention. These things didn't happen. But man, people get through that. It's like it's like he's their daddy or their brother at some level. And I don't really understand that connection. Are you getting the same kind of pushback if you say anything negative?
Yes, there's definitely this is kind of like a GOP stronghold, I believe, here in Southwest Missouri. Along a lot of I guess you would say, for lack of better words, a boomer vote. So a lot of people who are just heavily indoctrinated into whatever the GOP is pushing. And not only that, there's a good majority of people who were definitely really happy for the 2016 message, definitely believed he was an outsider, and have never come away from being convinced of that, despite what we've been seeing here recently, with the Iran war and a lot of these domestic issues that I believe we're failing on entirely when it comes to the House and the Senate and the presidency. When it comes to execution across the board, I feel like we're falling completely short and doing nothing but putting foreign interests or corporate interests first. And that's where I just feel completely stranded on the job site. I see all these things that are going on. We passed the big beautiful bill, and yet I call ICE and I'm on the phone for an hour, and the call drops, and it happens 2 different times. And it's like, okay, well, we apparently opened up all this this funding for this, but it seems like it's so hard to even do normal reporting. So we're not having any real change over there on the job sites, and no real change when it comes to our legislation as well. Like we have.
John, is it primarily foreign workers on the job site?
Say what?
I said, is it primarily foreign workers on the job site? I have buddies in the construction business. It's almost all Mexican labor.
Yeah, it depends on where you actually land. If you're in the union areas, not so much, because of the Francis Bacon Act, prevailing wage makes it to where there's not as many foreign-born workers. Usually it's 100% American workers, which my opponent is actually trying to repeal as well. So I feel like that is completely the wrong thing to do right now, especially since he's not introducing anything when it comes to immigration restrictions. There's this bill currently in place that helps protect American workers that he's wanting to, totally take out, because he thinks that basically, if we can stop paying these workers so much, we can save and do more of these projects that apparently we need to do. Well, I just think that's entirely the wrong place to be targeting, in my opinion. I mean, there's things in place like ITIN that makes it to where, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can pay taxes, you can do a mortgage, you can open a bank account. I don't know why we have these huge things in place and we're not going after that, to incentivize illegal aliens to actually leave the country. There's no real progress on these huge things currently in place that are against the American people. Why aren't we seeing any real change when it comes to these domestic bills? Like the Immigration Act of 1990 that made temporary protective status, H-1Bs, and work visas as well. We're seeing flood the job sites as well. And then, what also made the huge Somali population in Minnesota. So, they talk about all the issues, they talk about all the side effects from the issues, but they don't talk about the root cause, how they happen, and how we can actually make that change. My opponents will even sometimes criticize H-1Bs, but will never introduce anything when it comes to reform on the Immigration Act of 1990 that actually made it. So, I just put your money where your mouth is, actually, name the bills, go for the reform and just make it happen, and I feel like we're not seeing that at all. Again, we're just sitting on our hands and we're just holding a big stop sign until the Democrats get in, and then they're just going to flood us with their liberal agenda, So we just need to put the American people first and definitely stop these foreign wars, and focus on these domestic issues that are huge.
I think we agree there. So I'm going to go through a list of questions here very quickly.
Gotcha.
Number one, what kind of response are you getting when you knock on door? You're a young guy. There's a, especially if you get into older people, and I'm talking about 65 and up, they always think that experience in government matters. I disagree with that completely, but I could be wrong. I've never served terms in government, but I think that fresh ideas, people that are strong-willed. I'll give you an example. All right, John. When I first got into the shoe business, I needed a 4-year college degree to get the position that I had. I lied on my resume. I just said that I had a 4-year degree. I put it on my resume. I got in and I worked myself up to president of the company without a college degree. So I think college degrees are not all they're made up to be, because I think common sense and intelligence the measure of your education does not measure your intelligence level. I just think those two things are separate, and I think they are combined nowadays. So when you say experience, I say, well, wait a minute, give me an intelligent person who's trying to do the right thing, who has influence and can create communities, create organizations, create a camaraderie amongst people. Always is a talent that it goes, people don't recognize it when it's happening. I look at somebody like you and I say, I'd like to have a young guy in there. I'd like to have a guy in there who may be inexperienced, but is trying to learn what's going on. Because if you don't go in there with a preconceived notion of how politics works and you get in there and go, well, this is kind of dirty. They're telling me I need to do this to get this. And if you're, if you're a man of God and you're centered and you see that, I would want people to speak out against it and be brave. And I think young people are generally more brave. So as you get older, you got more to lose. When you're young, you have nearly as much to lose as when you're 60, right? You have more to lose. You got grandkids, you got this, you got a mortgage, you got investment, you got everything. You're like, oh, I built this big nest egg, I don't want to lose it. When you're young, it's like, let's rock and roll, let's get it on. So I like young people to be in politics because I think they're braver and I think they're a little bit more green in government, which I think is good. How are people when you knock on the doors and you knock on the door of a 65-year-old Fox News watcher? How do they respond to you when you're asking for their vote?
A lot of them, are really heavily indoctrinated into the GOP. If you're talking about the Fox News person, but on average, the voters that I'm talking to that are ready for change are the ones that I'm really after. I'm trying to convince the ones that are definitely heavily taking all the Fox News stuff in, they are definitely hard to talk to, especially when it comes to the Israel issue.
Right.
If we ever get into the foreign influence, usually I try to address health concerns. A lot of these older guys are definitely concerned about, the poisoning of the American people. A lot of these people will still believe that as well. So that's where we can actually find a lot of common ground, like atrazine in the water, chemtrails in the sky, stuff like that. I feel like there needs to be real investigation and real work to protect the American people. And especially when it comes to our food as well, like the Maha movement, a lot of older folks will definitely respond to that a lot better. And that's how we can really find a lot of middle ground, especially if they're not really awake to a lot of these other issues that, say, the Israel issue, like you and I are. We definitely will not find a lot of a common ground on the Israel issue when it comes to a lot of older voters. So I really just try to appeal really to really the poisoning of the American people and how we can address that, go after that. And that's how we really find common ground, at least for the older guys and gals out there.
That's kind of what I figured you were going to say. I didn't know that, but that's kind of what I figured you were going to say. All right, couple issues that are very important to the show. We talk about them all the time. I would assume you're not real happy with the Iran war, that you would ask for a vote of Congress because that's what the Constitution requires. I don't think you can bomb and take out 50 leadership people and say it's not a war. If somebody comes in and bombs Washington, D.C. and kills 50 U.S. senators, I would assume that would be a war. The idea that we're not calling this a war, to me, is embarrassing to my intelligence. I really lose faith in people when they say, Rob, it's a conflict, it's not a war. I'm like, well, you're just a moron. I don't even know how to talk to you anymore. Do you see it the same way? Do you see that we should be having constitutional wars if we're going to commit military members overseas, if we're going to drop bombs on civilizations, if we're going to take out infrastructures, if we're going to do these type of things? Isn't it in the Constitution that the American people have to vote for that through the U.S. House of Representatives? And I don't even know why we're having this conversation. It's so bizarre to me. But do you see it that way?
I definitely see it that way. I feel like, especially when you're someone like me that is, more aware to, the foreign influence that's been taking place over the last couple of decades, the neoconservative movement, and really how it's completely hijacked the right and, the Zionism within the right. Yeah, I think definitely we need to have congressional support when it comes to wars, and this definitely is a war, and I am completely against it. Both of my opponents right now in the race were never in the military, have never deployed. I deployed to the Middle East in these same places that are getting bombed right now. And my incumbent, he went to the Middle East, but he went to Israel and prayed at the wall. I think there's a lot of foreign influence there, a lot of symbolism there that I don't agree with. And I believe when you do stuff like that, you pay you're basically paying fealty to that nation, especially when you look into that symbolism, what that means, and what they say the West is, and the New Rome, and everything like that. All these politicians act like they're really informed and are really hardcore Christians, but don't really look into the symbolism and into the things that they're doing and the things that they're supporting as well. So no, I think this is a completely a war against American interests. we have lost regional hegemony in the area, which has definitely put a lot of stress on the petrodollar, and has put us in a position where we were definitely worse off now than we ever were before. We had free trade, free travel. Issues with Iran, sure, but nothing like this. And this is a war initiated by Israel, and now Israel is not in the war at all, completely taking a step back, and is completely happy with us taking hits for him. And I just think this is completely un-American, and I hate to see it. I hate to see that a ground war is going to be pushed, because my brothers and sisters that I served alongside are going to be, right where I was, but experiencing a lot worse situations, And I know when I was over there, the rules of engagement were completely upside down. Back in 2019, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was designated a terrorist organization. And that's when I was in convoys from Al-Assad Air Base to Al-Qaim. And, the rules of engagement were completely upside down there. And we're putting American service members in harm's way with no real defense. We were getting rules of engagement like, from the second lieutenant saying, when we're on this convoy, if you were to see the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, not to respond. And if we were to get shot at, not to respond unless we're getting pings on the vehicle. And only that vehicle is to respond and fire back. And I hope no one would actually take that advice and we would all engage. But, just hearing things like that are completely upside down. We're putting these Americans in harm's way with rules of engagement that totally put them at a disadvantage. So I just think it's complete betrayal to the American people. So I feel very strongly about it.
I know you do. And I interviewed a guy when I was on the radio station who lost all 4 of his limbs. So this guy with no arms and no legs. Then he tried to commit suicide, shot himself in the chest, and he survived it all. And when I was talking to him, this is a guy that, loves his country. But, I'm looking at this going, what did you get? What did you get? Your life has been altered forever. And what benefit did we get out of it? So you have to ask that question. When you're talking about sending young people in their teens and 20s over to fight foreign wars, and they're illegal, number one. And number two, what does the American citizen get out of it? Because if you can lie to us, which is my next question, the Smith Modernization Act, if you can lie to us through propaganda and you've passed legislation that allows you to domestically propagandize the citizens, then how should the citizens see it? You're sending us to war without congressional approval. You are lying to us continually on television. You're selling us COVID. You're opening up our borders. You're indoctrinating our kids. At what point do the citizens go, wait a minute, we love America, but this isn't the America that we love. This is not what we fought for. I just think people need to be able to articulate that. When you're talking about we're talking about the Democrats and the Republicans, I look at very similar, and I'm sorry for this long-winded, but I want to give you my explanation before you.
Oh, you're good.
When I look at the Israel question, why does Islam have to be the enemy and Israel have to be our friend? Why can't they both be enemies to what we're fighting for? That we everything is okay. You have 2 bad things, Democrats and Republican Party. For me, I think they've both been derelict in recent years, and maybe for the last several decades, if I'm being honest. But if they're not getting us to where we want to be, then maybe they're not our buddies. Maybe we're getting false choices between Democrats and Republicans. Maybe we're getting false choices between Israel and Islam. Maybe we should just be looking out for America first, looking out for our Christian nation, and looking out for what is best for the citizens of this country, instead of trying to solve all the world's problems by creating war all over the place, which we all know is just a business. That's all it is. But I don't think young people should be dying on behalf of businesses, big global corporations, which, come on, that's what's happening here. And the Smith Modernization Act allows this to happen. Are you aware of the Smith Modernization Act? We talked about this before. Do you know what it is?
I don't know if you and me have talked about it, but I talked to Alex Jones about it just for a little bit. I definitely am for reform on that. Yeah, I'm against the propagandizing of the American people. I believe there was a reform in the Obama era that basically turned it upside down again, and it definitely needs current reform in the state it's at right now.
Right now, they've opened the door for domestic propaganda, so you can see whatever's going on around the world, just lie about it and then sell it domestically to your citizens, which seems a little bit crazy to me. When you were on Alex Jones, how did he treat you? Was he treat you? He's a funny character.
Oh, I love that guy. I think you are just the local version. Really, you're just a different taste. You're a different guy, but you're fully awake to a lot of these same things. He is definitely for, a modernization of it. And, I really appreciate what you do here locally, Rob. You're really getting a lot of these America First voices that are going to really want a real change for the American people and will help turn the GOP completely upside down if we can, and make radical reform when it comes to all these issues domestically. So I really appreciate you doing that. And, I believe you're in the same fight as him. This is the info wars,
Yeah.
and you're just fighting it really on the Missouri level. And I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you young guys going after there and working because look, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You're up against the machine and Eric Burleson, so that's going to be, that's a lot to bite off. But let's just say this: have you learned a ton about Missouri politics?
I am. This is exactly what I wanted. How do you get started? How do you get the ball rolling? I'm aggressive. I want to make something happen. So I've made a lot of huge connections, especially with the Missouri MRA and a lot of the smaller communities in the area. And I now have a position locked in as the Greene County Central Committee guy here for Southwest Republic. So I'm trying to make sure I can still make change on the lower level and keep attacking it. And this fight will never be over for me. And I'm glad to be in it. I'm glad to see that you're in it as well, Mr. Robb. And I appreciate you fighting.
I want you guys to stay front and center. Here's what I would recommend: stay in the political fight. You're learning a ton. There's going to be a time when you're 35 and then you're 45 and you'll have all this experience and you can actually make a difference in the world. I'm not saying you're not going to win tomorrow. I'm just saying if you don't quit, because this is what happens. Some people when they get punched in the face or they lose, they crawl up in a ball and they go away. I don't sense that that's who you are. We got Ryan Hagedorn or next. I don't think that's who he is. Stay in the fight. We need young people to convince these generations that it is not what they were sold. It's just not. I'm one of them. I was right in that environment for almost my entire life, and I look at it now and go, man, what was I thinking? So I say stick with it as best you can. Couple more questions, and then I'll let you out of here.
Okay.
Surveillance state. How do you feel about data centers? How do you feel about flock cameras? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I want to repeal Trump's executive order, really open the floodgates to, the AI situation we're in right now. I believe we need to have, AI reform and give the states, the rights to regulate AI again. So that's a huge push I want to make on that front. And I've been really calling it the AI police state. I stand against the AI police state, central digital currency, flock cameras as well. I want to have a national reform on flock cameras, take that completely away. The mass surveillance of the American people, the AI police state, I completely stand against, and I want incredible reform when it comes to that.
I agree 100%. And I think you should be talking at schools. That's probably where you get a younger audience is more apt to listen. And nobody wants to be followed throughout their life. Nobody wants to be surveilled. Nobody wants to have their plates tracked. Nobody wants warrantless searches. Nobody wants the Patriot Act. Nobody wants kill switches in their cars. Nobody wants any of this stuff.
Definitely.
And they keep passing it, which just blows my mind that people put up with it. Elections. Last thing I want to ask you is about elections. This is a big fight for us. I work for an organization called People's Lobby Missouri, and we work our asses off to make sure that people understand that if we don't have free, fair, and verifiable elections, then we're not a free people. You can call yourself free all you want. Everybody around the world thinks they're free. It doesn't matter what. China thinks they're free. When you go to all these people think they're free. You're not free if you're not in a constitutional republic, if you're not choosing your leaders. And I'm not saying that every election is being manipulated, but there are elections. According to Tommy Tuberville, he's a sitting senator. He said 6 people that he knows of right now didn't win their elections, and they're governing us. And I have to pay taxes to that apparatus. It's ridiculous. What do you think about elections? I think it should be hand-counted paper ballots. I think we should have a one day to vote. I think that we should have an election holiday. I think we should do everything within our power as a society to make sure that our elections are run properly. How do you feel about elections?
I'm 100% the Rob Carter movement right there on the election reform. I love exactly what you said. Hand counting is the way. There's too much interference going on with that. We've heard, different administrations on the state levels and federal levels talking exactly about these issues and, saying there's hacking, and it's like, okay, well, let's do something about it. Let's do hand counting, there's the solution. Why are we overcomplicating it? So yeah, I think Rob, you're hitting the nail on the head like always. And I love your insight on these things. Again, I think, you're forming a great movement, and I appreciate you.
I want you to stay in contact with me. How do people find you if they want to vote for you? Listen, crazy things happen in this world. Trust me when I tell you, crazy things happen in this world.
So I got one more question for him.
Go ahead, Isaiah, but let him. How do people find you? Yep. And then Isaiah asks first, and then he can answer the question. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm on everything. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. VoteJohnCasey.com is my website. John Joseph Casey is my Facebook. Vote John Casey is my Facebook, and you can find me on Rumble as well. YouTube, X. You can find me at John J. Casey. That's me. Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, what's the question, brother?
Go ahead, Isaiah.
Yeah, so just being a military vet, I'm not sure if you're aware, but they are setting it up now at the federal level where the draft registration is going to be automatic instead of registering. Like I'm 34, but when I was between 18 to 26, they would mail me the selective service registration. I'd fill it out and then I'd send it back. And now they're going to make it to where you're automatically registered. And I know, your first trip's not going to be to Jerusalem to kiss the wall. I can tell that. And so with, people dying for Israel, essentially, that are our ages right now, how do you feel about that automatic draft being instituted?
Yeah, it's completely scary because, we're talking about that. And then side by side, we have the, NDAA of 2027, Section 219, that, if this ends up passing, will make it to where, intelligence, weaponry, and funding is all going through the Pentagon and no longer through Congress. So it's like, we're not going to be calling the shots anymore. And if Israel says go, we're going. So, I mean, I feel like we're already doing that. But that is putting, that's taking what breaks we had and just totally throwing them off the train and, kicking the throttle forward and breaking it and just saying, let's go. And I'm not for that at all.
Doesn't seem like a coincidence that Section 219 is being slipped in simultaneously while the draft is becoming automatic. That doesn't seem, it seems coordinated to me. That's all.
Yeah, it's all really coordinated, and everything we're seeing on the state level as well, like the anti-discrimination against Israel bill that I'm planning on making a citizen petition as well for, and, maybe challenge it as well in court civilly, but we'll see. That'll be good. That's an incredibly, Israel first law we have here that basically makes it to where, you have to sign that you will not boycott the state of Israel in order to work for the state of Missouri. And I think Rob was actually the one who pointed that out to me months ago.
Crazy. It's crazy. Okay. So one of our listeners says, T Kava, you aware of this?
What's that?
Okay. So I don't know if you know, but this is where they're taking away military benefits for, I think it is in John can tell us, but I think it has to do with what was it? Isaiah, do you remember? There's like
there's something about benefits being taken away. I'm not the expert on it, but what I do know is that there's a big split in the veterans organizations. Like the VFW, the American Legion, these people, there's splits between these organizations. Some American Legion posts have come out on their own to say they're against it because I think the American Legion supports it. But, one of our sponsors is John Grady here, who's a veteran himself, and he has been very outspoken. I've seen many veterans be outspoken against it because they feel like it's stealing benefits, this is what he says, making future veterans pay for current veterans' benefits. That's what he says is the
look into it because I don't want you to answer until you know
what's going on.
It sounds very important. I don't want to go off.
I know. I was surprised how
the summary. I'll go.
We'll get you hooked up with John Grady. He can explain it to you because this is a big issue for John. It's driving him crazy, and I want to make sure that you understand it and John can kind of fill you in on it because it's a big issue with him. All right, my friend, John Casey, everybody, enjoy you, man. I think you're doing a great job. 4 kids already, and you're how old? 27, 28?
28 now, as a couple days ago. Yes, sir. I'm praying for 2 more boys. They're all boys right now. That's my motivation. This is the world that we're going to be giving our sons and daughters. And the fight that we don't take forward today, we're just handing off to them. And I'm not ready to hand a crazy fight over to them without, getting a couple swings in myself.
Amen. John Casey, thank you for your service to this country, my friend. I think you're doing a great job. I know you've been working hard, so stay at it. Stay in touch with us.
Thank you, guys. You have a blessed day. Appreciate you.
Good luck tomorrow, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right, Isaiah. We got Ryan. I told him we might be a little bit late, so let's get some advertising in. And then we'll bring in Ryan Hagedorn. If you don't know who Ryan Hagedorn is, Ryan is crushing it on social media. So I got to assume that he is going to win tomorrow. But who knows? I know that he's very popular. He's kind of a charming young guy who's endorsed by Matt Gaetz, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. I think that's kind of an interesting endorsement. Let's do Rack. Let's do Rocket. And let's do Rack and Rocket. I'll save the other guys for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, we just got Moe's after that. That's it.
That's it. Rack and Rocket. So Rack Custom Coatings, again, keep it in the family. If you are somebody who makes decisions on industrial space flooring, hanger flooring for schools, retail spaces, we recommend rackcustomcoatings.com for the epoxy work. He is an artist with this stuff, so he can make it look however you want. You'll see the work here in just a minute. It's beautiful on his website. He's locally owned and operated, family owned since 2001. I know we've had some people contact him to do work, and you can see it on your. That's a bar right there. This is probably some kind of industrial space. The design and the craftsmanship is outstanding, and he is just a terrific guy. Got to know him a little bit over the course of the last several months. Rich McQuay is his name. As he likes to say, we install industrial strength, long-lasting coatings built to handle anything your home or business can throw at them. And from garages to commercial spaces, Rack Custom Coatings delivers tough, beautiful finishes that last, where quality meets craftsmanship. Reach him at 636-398-5040, 636-398-5040. Again, my personal endorsement for this work was my own garage. If you are somebody who has that man cave or wants to have that man cave, I tell you, you epoxy your garage floor, you put your big screen TV out there. Football season is coming. If you're into that kind of thing, and you got people out there on a fall day, and your wife's like, "Get out of the house! You're aggravating the hell out of me. Get outside." And you got into the garage, and that's where your action is at. Epoxy the floor. It's not expensive. You'll love it. It looks great. You park your beautiful cars in there, or have your man cave. I loved it. We had it done at our house. I just absolutely loved it. It changed the entire complexion of my house. Every time I opened the garage door, I went, "Wow, that looks fantastic." RackCustomCoatings.com, locally owned and operated. Rich McQuay. One more time with the phone number, 636-398-5040. And then got to get my man Mitch in. Mitch has been on vacation for what seems like forever.
Yeah, he goes on vacation as long as the congressman does.
Oh, he does. He some pictures out with him and his girlfriend in their convertible driving around town. I'm like, dude, what's going on around here?
It must be all the business we're bringing them.
I hope that's the case. Rocket Careers. Now, this is a nationwide business, very simple to remember. If you're a small to medium-sized business and you have a human resources department that doesn't get it done, or you can't afford one, you just don't have it because your business doesn't allow it, always lean on rocketcareers.com for great candidates, talent recruiting, job seekers, outplacement. They take care of everything for you, and you'll love doing business with Mitch and Brian. These are people, especially Mitch. I've known Mitch since I was in high school. You cannot help but to like Mitch. He's one of the guys that we were in school that everybody liked. It didn't matter what you were coming from. Everybody liked Mitch. Same deal here. He loves to help people. So if you're looking to launch a new career, maybe you're in a cubicle right now and you're thinking, I can't do this anymore. I know I got to feed the kids, but I hate this job. If you're out of work, if you hate your job, reach out to Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com, ROCKIT, Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. Reach out to Mitch and Brian, and they'll take care of you. Again, 636-778-2419, 636-778-2419. If you're out of work, hate your job, if you're a small to medium-sized business and can't find good candidates, it's always rocketcareers.com. All right,
maybe you're a politician that just got fired is about to get fired by someone who's running against you.
Maybe tomorrow. I'll be curious to see how the elections go, because if these betting sites are right, amendments A4 and A5 will go down. I'm always.
Do you want me to read this post from Josh Lehman I just saw?
Sure, go ahead.
So because Tim Jones just put out a post that said, no matter what happens tomorrow at the ballot box for the August 2026 primary, our mission to protect and grow Missouri will not be over. The battle is just beginning, onward and upward. That's what Tim Jones said. And Josh just said, looks like they're already conceding defeat. And that's right. We're here for good and going nowhere. Bring on the next fight. So it seems that the establishment and Freedom Principle today put out 12 posts back to back pushing A4 within like 10 minutes. And so right now, Missouri GOP just put out a big explainer for Amendment 5, why we should vote yes on it, things like that. So lots happening in social media today, and seems like, and I told you this already when I was listening to Tim Jones and Chris Harps on their show, seems like they're starting to read the room a little bit better and understand it doesn't look like we're going to get it passed this time. And we might have to go back and rework A4, rework A5, and represent it. So very interesting.
We'll see how it all plays out. All right, let's bring in Ryan Hagedorn. I like Ryan Hagedorn. I like John Casey. I like these young guys that are trying to achieve political office, who have good intentions. Ryan, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm excellent, Rob. How about yourself?
I got to give you a compliment. I want to give you a compliment right off the bat. The red hat with the checkered shirt, this is kind of your staple. So when I see you on social media, I think it is brilliant marketing. I don't know if somebody gave you that advice or this is something you came out on your own. But when you have that distinctive look and you come across social media, I recognize Ryan Hagedorn right away. I thought it was brilliant. You've stuck with it. You'll be doing it again today. So from a marketing standpoint, which is intelligence, right? You got to know how to communicate with people. Right off the bat, I say that you do something different, and I think it's fantastic. So the only knock, I got to give you this knock first before we get into, because I like what you're doing. The only knock that I get, I had several people reach out to me and they said, Ryan doesn't live in his district. And I don't know that because of all the district moving around that even matters. And I know you don't have to live in your district. What do you say to these people that have reached out to me and wanted me to I don't know these people, but they reached out to me. They said, Ryan doesn't live in his district. You should know this. You should know that. What's your answer to that criticism?
No, it's an absurdity, Rob. I'd love to have you over to my house in Stockton sometime, but it's just simple campaign muzzling, political attacks, and there's nothing to it. But if you say a lie enough, sometimes people thinks.
Do you live in the
it's
district
true,
that you live in? Do you live in it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Then why are people saying this about you? I don't understand it.
It's just because they can't attack me for anything else, and so it's that simple. They can't attack me for my character, my principles, my stances, my issues. So they try and drum up stuff. If you don't believe me, go to the MEC, go to the Secretary of State's office. It's all a bunch of nonsense.
Gotcha. Okay. Very interesting because I had some very emotional pleas to me that people sent me.
Yes.
Not attacking you necessarily, but saying, Rob, you're not covering both sides of the story. Ryan doesn't live in his district, and these long dissertations. And then you're telling me you do live in your district. Very strange. Okay. I got to get to the big questions of the day are where do you stand on certain issues? Let's just start with Amendments 4 and Amendment 5. How do you see Amendment 4 for or against?
Yes. Well, there are definitely pros and cons to both issues.
Correct.
And if Amendment 4 fails to pass, I'm not going to shed any tears. I'll just say that. Because I do think a data center moratorium, the best way to get it passed would actually be through the IP process. At the same time, though, I am opposed to recreational marijuana. I'm opposed to other things like old A3 and then also sports gambling. I'm very, very much opposed to sports gambling. That all came in through Amendment 4. And so it's for that reason why I'm very concerned about the current IP system. And I do think that some long-term reform could be used. I'm not sure if the Amendment 4 is the best crafted bill. I think it could have been crafted better. However, I am voting yes on it because we don't want to allow ultra wealthy liberals to, through all their money, to influence and propagandize and influence voters. And so we want to restrict the voting power of Kansas City and St. Louis, and we want to enhance rural Missouri's voting power. And so that's why I'm voting a yes on 4. But again, if it fails to pass, then I'm not going to shed any tears about it. I promise you that.
What do you think of the people? Because it's the argument that I get. It's the argument that I will make on it. Is what happens when the Democrats 20 years from now have a supermajority? Then what do we do?
Well, that's why we have to fight tooth and nail to make sure that it doesn't happen. But I would say that it really comes down to what do you believe America should be? What do you believe Missouri should be? Do you want to see more of a democracy or more of a republic? And so you look at an issue like abortion, objectively, it's true that the legislature has a better track record on abortion than the electorate, than the people do. And so as a pro-life Christian conservative, I have to, sometimes the Republican Party does do good things. Sometimes they don't. You have to call them out for it when they do bad things. But on this issue, the Republican legislature was successful because after Roe v. Wade, Dobbs' decision, we did have one of the most pro-life legislative laws on the books, and yet with old A3, we became one of the most pro-choice states in the country. And so on the issue of abortion versus pro-life, the Republican legislature does actually have a good track record on that issue, and frankly, they deserve some credit for it.
Do you know the background of A3, Ryan? Do you know the story of Mary Elizabeth Coleman and the story behind how A3 and the IP process got kind of sabotaged back in the day? Are you aware of those stories?
Yes. We actually discussed that on my last interview here, and so that's definitely relevant, and I understand that for sure. But any elaboration you want to say?
Well, I'm just saying I think that's why people are concerned about it because they look at the people that are against abortion and believe that life begins at conception. They would look at that and say, okay, well, we had that was the law when Roe v. Wade was overturned. That's where Missouri was. And the Republican Party had a supermajority and had opportunities to protect it with IP reform, and they didn't. And they gave this bill to Mary Elizabeth Coleman, who, as I understand it from people within the Republican Party who shared with me, she was a registered Democrat down in Texas. They give her the bill. She sabotages her own bill. Then it goes to where all the money comes in on the ballot language, and now we have the most liberal abortion policies in the country. So when we're talking about A4, just as a frame of reference, both sides are complicit. So you've got the people voting for it, but you also have the legislature not protecting it. So it's, I don't know which one I trust more, but I'll leave it there. On number 5, do you have an opinion on number 5, this idea that we would stage out income taxes in favor of service and sales taxes? What's your take on that one?
I'm a strong no on Amendment 5. I've actually held town halls on this issue. I've spoken for hours at length on this issue, and it is an awful, awful deal. It's going to expand the tax base, increase sales tax, and also institute new tax on services. We don't even know what the new tax on services would be. That's what's concerning about it. We're sounding like Democrats right now and saying, let's pass it and then we'll tell you what it is. And so it's a terrible idea. And especially in my district, my area, where we are a border county, we've got border counties, a border district with Kansas. We could lose our competitive advantage with Kansas if the sales tax rate goes up by 1, 2, 3%. And from what I've heard, especially from Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick, that if there are exceptions and carve-outs and cutouts being made to special interest groups, then the sales tax rate would skyrocket. And so I am very, very concerned about it, especially for Barton and Jasper counties, 2 counties in my district. And that's why I'm a strong no on Amendment 5. My opponent is for it. I'm against it because it is an awful, awful deal. And it's going to severely, severely negatively impact the lower class folks, workers, middle class folks, and retirees, older folks, and people on a fixed income.
Doesn't that just kind of ensure that you're going to win? I cannot imagine rural people want AI data centers coming into their town. I haven't met even a person who is for them. So doesn't that just kind of sway the election in your favor just on that one? I'm assuming you're getting this information out to your district. Isn't that the be all end all is AI data centers out in the rural areas? I haven't met any rural people that are clamoring for AI data centers. It's just the opposite.
Absolutely. And that's why I do believe we're going to win on tomorrow, actually, on August 4th. And that's why I have had tremendous popularity, tremendous support. We had 50 people at my campaign kickoff, 100 people at my most recent rally in Sarcoxy, because people don't want AI data centers. They don't want solar farms coming in. We want to preserve Missouri farmland as Missouri farmland owned by Missourians and not China. And that's what's so important about it. And so that's why I have tremendous support from the people. That's why my signs are everywhere, many, many endorsements, because we don't want AI data centers, and it's a bad deal. We don't want Amendment 5, and we want representatives and leaders who reflect the interests of the community. And so again, I've rejected all lobbyists, special interests, and PAC money. That way I've been able to preserve my vote and my voice. And I've actually have you heard of the People's Priorities PAC? This is a PAC by billionaire Rex Sinkfeld out of St. Louis, and he's spending tens of thousands. Actually, he put $300,000 into this PAC. He spent tens of thousands of dollars against me personally in untruthful attack mailers. Why? It's because I've had the principled stance on A5. He's coming after every grassroots Republican candidate, especially for state representative, who opposes A5. That's why he opposes me. That's why he opposes other conservative representative candidates. But because I'm going to stand with the people, I'm not going to stand with the billionaires because we don't need a billionaire tax program. That is exactly what A5 is, a billionaire tax program.
Boy, oh boy. What's the name of this PAC again? Isaiah's the research genius on this show. So
it's We the People Priorities PAC.
People's Priorities PAC. And
We the People Priorities.
The treasurer is Steve Ellinger or Mark Ellinger. But
yeah,
Rex
Mark Ellinger and Stephanie Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are so Mark Ellinger and Stephanie Bell. They work for Mark Ellinger's law office. We the People Priorities PAC is what it's called. Rex Sinkfield funded it with $300,000. And Mark Ellinger
I'm sorry, I can't hear Isaiah right now if he's talking, Rob.
Can you hear Isaiah?
Oh, dang it.
I can't
Okay.
hear Isaiah. No.
Oh, dang. Okay, no worries. If you just want to repeat that, Rob.
Well, he's I can't repeat it because I smart enough to repeat it.
Come on, off the top of your head.
That these people are associated with one another. The attorney Ellinger goes way back with Rex Sinkfield, and that's what's funny is that he is going up against. That makes me want to vote for you right away because I just think all money is corruptive. So he's put in $300,000 in a PAC to sabotage your campaign or to take you out for your opponent.
Yes, absolutely.
And your opponent wants AI data centers.
He does. Can you believe that?
Really? Wow. I'll tell you what. That's very interesting to me. Okay. That threw me off. Now you got me all rattled. I didn't realize that he was trying to get after your campaign as well. Man, this guy is everywhere in the state of Missouri. So he wants AI data centers. He wants Amendment 5 passed. Isaiah put out a report yesterday. He put an article out and then a video showing where Rex has, deep ties to trying to get rid of income taxes in the state of Missouri. And I guess, getting rid of income taxes, I think you'd agree. I'm fine with getting rid of income taxes. It's the method to get rid of them that I'm questioning.
Exactly.
Are you a little, because you're a young guy and I know that you're doing well. I can see it. There's no doubt that you're doing well. Did you get any support from major Republicans in the state of Missouri? Did anybody come in, whether they be like a Josh Hawley or an Eric Burleson or an Ann Wagner or anybody in the state house or state senate that came out in support of you? If so, who were they?
Yes, Senator Mike Moon. I have his endorsement, and could there be a better endorsement? I don't think so. I'm not sure. Right.
I didn't know all this. I should have known. Very
Yeah.
interesting. So Mike, that's the one that we like. So Mike Moon, that's the one I think is the most principled. So he is, he's endorsed you, and he's probably the only one, right?
He is. Yes, that's exactly right. He is the only candidate, but frankly, that's the way I want to see it. And so I wouldn't want some people's endorsement, even if I could get them. And I was actually offered them. I was actually offered to be able to join the club, join the establishment. And that would have come with, as I understood it, practically every endorsement under the sun, besides for the governor, had I joined the club. But I said no because I wanted to preserve my vote and my voice. And they've come after me because of that. That's why you've seen Ozarks First, owned by Nexstar Media Group and BlackRock. They've put hit pieces out against me. That came out recently. And they're spending tens of thousands of dollars in mailers against me. But you know what? When you have the corporate establishment media and billionaires and the worst of the worst in Missouri state politics coming after you, you know you're doing the right thing. You catch the most flack when you're over the target. I'm catching that flack, but the people are behind me. That's why, again, I had 100 people show up for a rally in 3 days. That'd be impressive for a governor's race, let alone a state rep race. And so it's the people are with me. I expect a very positive result tomorrow, and I'm just very excited. And so it's been a great campaign of work and fun, and I'm looking forward to the result tomorrow.
I love it. You got to tell me, how did they approach you? Because this is always something I've wondered. I can't believe that I have not been approached. I guess they just figured it's not going to work with. I don't know. They made some assessment that's not going to work. But I would think that when you have influence, these people come after you at some point, try to ingratiate themselves with you. They try to pull you into their net. I have had a couple people try to bring me into that net, but no offers necessarily. They just wanted me to join hands with them. How do they come at you? Do they make some kind of offer to you? Do they have a meeting with you? Do they send you a letter? I mean, how do they work their charm on you?
No, it's networking. It comes down to networking, and you get involved in Republican circles. And some people have very close relationships with others. It's through a friend of a friend. But the personal situation that I'm talking about is we had started off poorly, and we had actually made things right. We became good friends, and so again, I'm a great public speaker. I'm a leader. When I put a video out, all of Missouri sees it because of my large social media following, as you alluded to earlier. And so I've got a lot going for me. People know that very well. The establishment knows that very well. And so I think the idea was, hey, it would be better if we had Ryan under our wraps on our terms, as opposed to being a free agent. And they offered me the king's ransom essentially, and it was very tempting. I would love to say that within 3 milliseconds I said no to it, but I really prayed about it for a long time, for 2 weeks. I really thought about it for a long time, but I just couldn't do it. And it was the worst 2 weeks of my life. My heart actually hurt over it. But and I've ran a great campaign since then, since I've rejected them. But they've definitely come after me. They've stayed true to their word that they'd come after me. But again, they say power protects itself, and that's the verbiage they use. And so when I said no to them, they recognized that, okay, you're going to be an enemy then. We're going to come after you. And that's why they've thrown the gauntlet at me. They've thrown the kitchen sink at me. But here I am, still standing strong, and really feeling good about how tomorrow will go.
Wow, power protects itself. I talk about this all the time. So I have this group called MMTLP. They believe they were involved in a major stock fraud operation at the federal level with FINRA and the SEC, and they think they're going to get a political solution to it. They went to Ann Wagner, they went to Ralph Norman, they went to Robert F. Jr., and they keep going to these places. And they got upset with Isaiah and I because I said, listen, I don't think there's a political solution to where you're going. Power protects itself. That system is designed to protect itself. So FINRA, I don't know how much you know about this, but FINRA is,
I know very well.
It's an unregulated business. Really, the SEC just makes sure they follow their own rules, but they are aligned and are made up. Their board is made up by the brokers, we lost them. Can you hear me, Ryan?
No. Can you hear us, Ryan?
Let's see if we can get him back.
Yeah.
I was going to get into MMTLP. There he is.
There he is. Back.
Let me finish this, Ryan.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So what they ultimately do is
now, Rob, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, Rob.
Okay. Hang on.
No worries. Well, I'll just kick him out and have him come back in.
Yeah, tell him. I don't know if you can reach him and have him come back in. I'll just tell the audience. It's the fox guarding the hen house. You have this private industry, FINRA, that the accusations are against the broker dealers, and FINRA is made up of broker dealers, so they are able to rig the over-the-counter markets and nobody does anything about it. It's amazing. These people lose their investments all the time, and people know what's happening, and yet there's never a resolution to it because, as he said, power protects itself. There he is. Can you hear me now?
I
Okay,
sure
last
can.
couple,
Yes, sir.
last couple questions. You didn't need to hear all that. Last couple questions. Matt Gaetz is endorsing you, which I find
Yes.
I like Matt Gaetz. I'm in
Mhm.
Florida right now. I know a lot about Matt Gaetz. I've been following his career for quite some time. So you
Mhm.
worked with Matt Gaetz. Tell me a little bit about Matt and your relationship with him.
Yes, well, he's a great man, and I stay up at night thinking about how great our country would be today had he been made Attorney General as
Right.
opposed to Pam Bondi. Oh my gosh, we would have had Epstein arrests. Everyone on those files would have been prosecuted and investigated and looked into. But again, the establishment went after him hard, and because again, he never took any lobbyist or PAC money. He was never part of the system. They wanted him out for a long time. And he was a true firebrand, a grassroots, principled, conservative leader who didn't bow down to the machine, to the system, and we all know who we're talking about here. And he stayed free. He kept his voice, but that's why they came after him with the most untrue, salacious, and frankly unfair attacks. And yeah, that's what happened there. But he's crushing it on OAN right now, and he's got a great future ahead of him too. And I'm honored to have his endorsement. Excuse me. But no, he's a family man. He's a great man personally. I was honored to work for him in Florida in the first district office of Florida. And yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Congressman Gaetz.
I got a question for you that I just
Mhm.
was thinking about because I don't know where you're at on this.
Mhm.
What is your take on so there's a couple of laws in Missouri that aggravate me. One is that if you want to do business in the state of Missouri, you have to sign an affidavit that says you will not boycott the state of Israel. Now, I'm not saying whether you're for or against Israel because in Missouri, I don't think it necessarily matters, but I don't understand how that law gets past the First Amendment. If I'm a resident of Missouri and I want to contract with the government because I want to change education or I have some construction company or whatever, I've got some communication company, and because they do allocate $50 billion, so we all know. So I want to get into that business. I want to solicit the state of Missouri, but I don't agree with Israeli policy in Gaza, with Lebanon, and the like. So if I boycott Israel, the state of Missouri says if I'm going to do $100,000 worth of business or more with them, that I have to sign an affidavit that says I won't boycott Israel. I don't, for the life of me, and I know that the Missourians for some reason don't seem to care about these type of things. I think it's just crazy. How do you see it? Is that not an infringement on our First Amendment rights? How do you see it just from a constitutional standpoint?
Mhm. That's a great question. That's an excellent question, Rob. And first, what I want to say is, foreign policy is not something which influences, which is a job of a state representative. But and so, as I say, I'm Jesus first, Missouri first, and America first. It's that simple. That's what we have to be. But on that exact issue, sir, what I want to say is that it is an infringement upon our constitutional rights. And first, I oppose any merging of America's military with any foreign country, whether that be the UK, Japan, or any country in the Middle East. And so, frankly, because we want to be America first. And is that America first? That's not America first. Is that Missouri first? No, because anything which restricts or takes away rights of Missourians is not Missouri first. It's that simple. And so we Missourians have First Amendment rights. And frankly, if someone decides that they want to boycott a foreign country for any reason at all, they should be allowed to, without a doubt. And frankly, it's not whether we like a country or don't like it. It comes down to the Constitution. And if you're not following the Constitution, that's where tyranny comes in. And so what I would say is that I oppose that 100% because it's so unconstitutional. And again, anything which restricts Missourians or Americans' rights, I'm against, I'm opposed to it. And that's why we have to fight tooth and nail for the cause of freedom, liberty, and what we know to be true and right, and what the founding fathers fought for.
Amen. If people want to vote for you and they want some information, how do they find you?
Yes, check me out on Facebook, Ryan Hagedorn for State Representative. Check me out on my website, hagedornformo.com. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram. And so, yeah, let's get out the vote tomorrow, folks. Let's vote
Amen.
big. And let's get a big, strong victory for the grassroots conservative cause. And let's take it to the establishment. And, Rob, you and I would have a lot of fun these next few years if I'm elected in calling out the corruption and really taking it to the establishment.
You're
That's
reading
what
my
excites
mind
me.
because I cannot
Mhm.
wait until you win tomorrow. I believe that you're going to win. I cannot wait until
Mhm.
you win tomorrow because I can't wait to work with you. I really want to work with people that are centered, that are just decent people because, when you get into politics, I can be very confrontational with people. I mean, that's just my nature. And I always say to Isaiah, I don't like that about myself, but it is what it is. But as I get older, I'm starting to calm down. I'm realizing I can relate to people. I can talk to more people. I can get more with honey than I can with vinegar. And what I'd like to do is get up there and especially if these young people get into positions in the Missouri government. I love Bryant Wolfen. I want to get into making some changes for Missouri that I think could be substantial. I think we could have a much better state, a more prosperous state. I don't know that growth. Everybody talks about growth. I could bring every corporation into Missouri, and I don't know that makes our state any better. It just means we're bringing in more tax revenue. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I look at things just a little bit different than some of the Republican establishment thinkers. But nonetheless, I can't wait till you win tomorrow. I believe you're going to win tomorrow. I'll put a little shout out for you tonight on social media. I wish you the best, my friend. I think you run an absolutely fantastic campaign for a young person. I think it was brilliant. I love the marketing. I do. I think I noticed that about you right away. I'm like, oh, he's wearing the same thing pretty much every time I see him on social media. What a brilliant idea with the checkered shirt and the red hat. Gets attention, and you have a big social media because of it. I think it was brilliant. All right, Ryan Hagedorn, everybody. Good luck, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Rob. Bye.
You got it. All right, Isaiah. What's your take on Ryan?
Great. I appreciate you hitting him with the hard questions right off the bat, because that's what someone was asking in the chat, was about the residency requirements, I think, because I mean, there is a lot of information out there. I wasn't trying to do a gotcha with him, but you know, he did file for District 125 last year to run for that. And then he ended up the next month, he filed for 127. I don't know if that had something to do with the redistricting. I know that the address on the 125 is different than the address on his 127 filings. And so he could have moved too, right? And so there's all these things that I think people are trying to maybe use against him, that maybe they're just not maybe they're not listening and listening to the full holistic picture here. We could be wrong too, though. You know, because the property he's at is a rental property too. So there's all these things that are interesting where people are bringing up valid concerns. It's you know, the house he lives at is, like, you just Google the address that he has listed on the MEC, and it comes up for a vacation rental, you know, conglomerate basically that has a bunch of homes, and one of those homes that they rent out is his home. Doesn't mean that he's being dishonest, though, right? Those are just the facts that people are laying out. And I don't think that means he's being dishonest, or that he hasn't lived there for a year, which is the requirement, right? And so when you get into requirements for elections, that's where people can sometimes get a little upset. That's what people were upset about me, because I had only lived here for a couple of years, for 2 years when I ran for election, and they didn't realize you only had to live here for a year to run for Board of Aldermen. And they're like, oh, wait, so you only have to be 18, live here for a year, and not have any felonies? That's it? Oh, I didn't know that. And so
the more you know,
people are coming from, but you know, I want to believe him with where he's coming from with the residency requirements, and that seems to be the only thing that people are bringing up against him. You know what I mean?
He has crushed it on social media.
Yeah,
really, because he's kind of like this. He said I'm a great public speaker. He's when I watch him, he's not crazy polished, but he what's the best word? You're kind of
well. That's why I trust him. It's not a rehearsed speech that he's giving. He hasn't gone with his team and done 17 read-throughs right before he got up on stage.
That's what I noticed.
So
as well.
That's where I'm inclined to trust him, because of the authenticity that he has.
That's where I'm coming from. All right, you got to answer Karen. Answer that,
Karen.
For me. Karen, hang on a minute, Karen. Go ahead.
Karen, I understand. This is a very complex issue, Rob. Because
tell her your background.
Yeah, so my background, I went to, just my educational background, went to one of the most Zionist Bible colleges called Moody Bible Institute, founded by Dwight L. Moody, who was a Zionist. We had to sign that we believe in dispensationalism as a theology, meaning that, you know, there's a master plan for Israel, that the church has not replaced Israel, these different beliefs. My dad is also Jewish. I worked for an organization called Jews for Jesus, where we focused on missionizing to the Jewish people. They would be, not all of them, but most of them would be pretty Zionist in that organization as well. So that's my background. Is I've been trained in this. I know all the arguments. You know, Dr. Michael Brown is one of the biggest people. I've got to meet him because of my professor, Dr. Michael Rydelnik. You can look him up too. So that's my background. I have all this training in pro-Zionist ideologies. And I've come to the realization when I finally sat down and decided to look for myself and not take what people are telling me, Rob, just kind of like the GOP is how I kind of think about this. Instead of just taking it in and knowing enough to be like, oh, that makes sense, right? What you're saying, yeah, that makes sense. That kind of lines up. So I'm going to go with that. And then when you finally dig into the details into the Bible, and specifically when you look into Romans 9 and 11, it says that we're grafted into this branch, right? That the Jewish people are this original olive branch, and now we're grafted in as new branches, and that the church now is referred to as Israel, right? The chosen people. And so the hard thing to rectify in people's minds is that the Jewish people were chosen by God for a purpose. However, the church is chosen now for a purpose. And so both are true. That's the complex issue here, is that, yes, God did choose the Jewish people. He actually chose them to show how messed up they were, how no matter what, even God dwelling physically in the midst of these people, Rob, they can see his glory. Imagine if we could see God's glory in front of us. That'd be pretty intense. And the whole purpose is to show that despite the God's glory being right in their faces, they still turned against him and they still worshiped idols. And so that's where the complexity of this issue gets hard, because you have all this history and then getting to this bless Israel and bless those, right? That comes not has anything to do with the nation of Israel. And it has everything to do with Abraham and the descendants of Abraham. It never says those who bless Israel. It doesn't say that. It says those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be blessed. Talking about Abraham. I think that covenant is not an unlimited covenant. I think that there was some things that they broke. This is what the Catholic Church would say too, that their punishment for not believing in the Messiah was the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. And I think that there's a lot of complex history here, but I tend to agree with that the Bible does tell us that the Jewish people, the chosen people of God, would reject the Messiah, that they would not see anything about him, and that they would, reject him, and that the Gentiles would accept him. And that the Gentiles would then make the Jews jealous. That's the goal. And that's that mystery that we don't know about the end times, Rob, that people will still talk about. That's the mystery that we don't know. What does God have for the Jewish people? I don't know. But I can tell you that it doesn't mean that the nation of Israel is supposed to exist. That has nothing to do with it. I think that if Israel existed or didn't exist when Jesus wants to do whatever he was going to do with the Jewish people, I don't know. People have their theories, right? But we're just theorizing until Jesus comes back and does whatever he does. That's my kind of crazy stance. I know it's all over the place a little bit, but there's so much complexities here of the history of understanding the Bible, what that verse actually says, because it doesn't say bless Israel. It says bless you, talking to Abraham. And then understanding dispensational theology too, that it's creeped in and it was sold to us through the Schofield Bible, through commentary notes that were put into the Schofield Bible.
Change the perception.
Yeah. And so I understand what she's trying to say is like, I don't think that we should be, like we talk about, Stu Peters is probably an anti-Semite on that line of, he rides right over that line of like, hey, you're saying the Jews and it's their problem. Look at these dirty Jews and things like that. I don't think we need to go there, but I think we should.
That has he?
Well, I mean, maybe not on his show, but I heard him say it on a different live stream with other people. Yeah, he was making fun of a Jewish guy and like, look at this squirrely, dirty Jew guy.
Oh my God, I didn't know it.
And so that's where it's a little over the top, a little sensationalized.
This is a the way she feels is something I think is a real problem for us, because people who believe this is biblical and they're following the word of God, have us in a situation where my argument has always been, what if somebody steals an election in Israel? Are we still supporting Israel no matter what they do? What if
and they have.
That's what I'm saying. So if you have people that are running a government that aren't representing the people there, then aren't we in a really bad situation to follow whatever their leadership wants to do in terms of war, genocide, everything. Wouldn't we be in a really bad situation? Wouldn't be led astray? And I think that's a real problem, because when you say that you're going to absolutely follow a nation's leader no matter what, because the Bible says, can't people just intuitively know that that's a really bad position to put your
And I think you can believe both. If you want to say that you're pro-Israel, you want to support the Jewish people, I think you can still support them and not have to support Netanyahu. And the reason I know this, Rob, is because I have Israeli friends who are Messianic Jews, is what they would call themselves, Jewish people who believe Jesus is the Messiah, that hated Netanyahu until October 7th.
Right. Well, it's
hated
like
his guts.
That was Bush. Half the country hated George W. Bush, Dummy Bush, as I like to call him. I like George Bush as my friends I got some friends that are friendly with him, so I can't talk too negatively about him.
Fool me once.
Fool me once. I got it if you want it. Shame, but just don't be fooling me. Don't be fooling me. All right, do me a favor. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. One more time. We didn't talk about it. But if you would do that for us, it would be great. It is not easy working through the algorithms when you talk about the things we talk about. Wouldn't hurt us today. So today is not one of those issues, but generally speaking, we talk about elections. We talk about what's going on with Israel. Those are really tough.
Big Charlie Kirk show on YouTube.
Yeah. Did you see somebody said, Rob, do you know you're being shadow banned? Did you see that yesterday?
Yeah. I saw that.
I think I had 3 followers. What's going on there, you think?
I don't know. I didn't, he didn't say what it was. That's why when people say that, it's like, well, provide some context, please.
What I mean?
Like, what do you mean? Because I could see it. I just liked it. And so what do you mean by that? Right.
Well, I thought he was going to come back and give me some, out to me, but he goes, you realize you're being shadow banned. I said, of course I realize that, but what do you do? I mean, there's not much you can do about it.
Now, what do you mean? Like, what are you seeing to think that? What's making you think that? Maybe you think something and it's actually completely wrong and you're just making something up that is not true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you go to his X feed, he's got like all of this information about how they shadow ban you. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. If you look at it, if you just go down the list, it kind of tells you how it works, which I just assume is happening. I mean, I can just,
it could be a bot account too. Sometimes
absolutely. I think it probably
they'll go on there and then they want you to get on their account, follow them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly how I took it. All right. When it's time for lunch, Isaiah, where are we going?
Moe's Pizza.
Any day but today.
Any better today, yes. And if you haven't yet, go check out the video on our Facebook page, the Rob Carter Show Facebook page. We just put out an interview with some people on the street interview talking about A4 and A5. People have been loving that video, so go check it out.
That's right. We I saw just pieces of it. So we interviewed some people out in front of Moe's Pizza. Again, I love Moe's Pizza. I love the people at Moe's Pizza. I love what they try to do. This is a family environment, no alcohol. They were
actually having an event while we were there, weren't they? They were in a Bible study.
We were hopping when we were there. They have great pizza and salad bar, all you can shove down your face, which I really like. I've got to take a diet though, Isaiah. It was terrible. I was at the melting pot last night for dinner. You ever been to these melting pot places?
Oh my gosh, of course.
Oh my good Lord.
Yeah. I think when we were at Moe's, you go, oh, have you gotten any pizza? I said, yeah, I'm on my 6th piece.
I'm not going to eat anymore. I'm going to quit eating for 3 days. No more eating. I have to fast. I have to do it. I got to get my ass in shape. Got to do it. Moe's Pizza. So I won't be eating at Moe's until at least I come back into town. Moe's Pizza, again, great pizza and salad bar, chicken wings, sandwiches, burgers, ice cream, great family environment. And if you have anything going on and you're in Franklin County, any kind of meetings or banquet space that you might need for birthday parties, anniversaries, political meetings, Bible studies, anything you need a space for, they'll take care of you. They'll treat you like family, old school people, great staff. Every time I go in there, he's got young people working for him. The way it used to be, Isaiah, you come in and these people are kind and friendly and smart and wonderful. Moe's Pizza, a landmark in Washington, Missouri. As he likes to say, God owns the place. He just works there at the corner of Grand and 5th Street in Washington, Missouri. Get out to Moe's Pizza and get yourself some lunch. And I think that's all we got.
No one works harder than Mike at Moe's Pizza, that's for sure.
I love him and Brenda. They treat us so well. When we go out there, I feel like a celebrity when I go out there because they treat us kindly. I just love the way they treat us. They listen to their political rivals. If you are into making the state of Missouri better, they're right there for you. Is the way
I was thinking this. I'll say it on the show since you just maybe throw it out there. I was thinking maybe we do our 100th show at Moe's for a live show potentially. It's 25 shows from now, so it gives us a little time to maybe try to plan. Huh?
That sounds about right when I'll be in town.
Yeah, so maybe we could plan something around that, or even if it's past 100, maybe we have a celebration that we've done 100 shows or something like that. So be cool. I think it's a big milestone that we've hit 100 shows. We're going to hit 100 shows, Rob. It's pretty crazy.
Has it been unbelievable? So far we had almost 100 million views of interviews that we did when we went to DC. We've already hit our number on YouTube after 30 days, or 90 days, I should
90
say.
days, yeah, which is great.
We're starting to struggle a little bit on Rumble, just a little bit, because Rumble has added so many commercials to the show. It's aggravating people. But again, if you want no commercials, you just got to pay the fine. Nothing we can do.
Yeah.
I would pay to get rid of the commercials for people.
Same with YouTube. If you want no commercials, you got to pay. Same with Rumble. You don't pay. I will say, if you want no commercials, X is going to be the only place that's going to be consistent, and the stream won't be taken down. Facebook may take a stream down by us in the future.
Well, that's another thing that's kind of odd with X, is that it's been hard for us on X recently. But one thing that's great about it is it's great to watch a podcast there, because nobody bothers you. You just go on there, it sits up there all the time. You can go watch it. There's no commercials. It runs fantastic. So, but a lot of people that are Facebook watchers, they don't mess with X. I'm thinking X is 10 times better than Facebook. Why don't people do X?
It's like its own war, Rob. It's like, Democrats and Republicans, X and Facebook. It's like its own little war.
If you pay attention to politics, you'd have to be on X. That's where all the information is at. I mean,
yeah,
you get that information.
I have a buddy in our group chat, in my friend's group chat, and he was on the Trump train the longest, and he just got off. But every time we send an X link, he says, "Don't send me an X link. That's fake news."
Come on, really? I think it's the only.
And he's not. He doesn't really understand. You know what I mean?
The opportunity for real news.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not great. I mean, I'm unhappy with X right now. But as far as just being able to, where else can you go to somebody's page? Any politician, any mover and shaker has an X page, and if you want to hear directly what they're trying to say to you, you go right there and get it. I mean, it's True Social is based off of X.
Exactly.
So it's the same concept. It's where anybody that's of any importance anywhere in the world has an X account, and you can see what they have to say directly. You don't have to get through intermediaries. You have to get it through the news, or somebody said this. You go right to their page and you can find out what they're talking about. I mean, you can't get any better than that, as far as I can tell. Anyway, that's all I got for you, everybody. Isaiah, thank you, my friend. Hope you feel better.
To vote tomorrow, people. I know we don't have the power that we necessarily think we have with voting, but I think at the local level, I think that it's where we can have the biggest impact.
Yep.
And if we get out to vote, I think that's where we can make it too big to rig, is
showing up. Have to vote in local elections. I can't say for president of the United States and all that nonsense, but federal level, whatever. Local level, you got to vote. You got to get involved in your community. And if you want a better life for your kids and grandkids, you just get involved. If you don't, you can sit back and watch The Masked Singer and do your thing. But I think you should get involved in local government right away. Hey, take some emergency. I used to get that, and I used to travel a lot. So get yourself some emergency, some chicken broth, and I assume you'll feel better by tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go to a board meeting tonight, but I think this is going to be, and I hate, because I criticize politicians that miss their votes and stuff, but I don't think they want me to probably come tonight. So,
and you have to remember the most important thing is to show up here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's the most important. Okay.
And both my kids are sick, just so you guys know. My wife is dying in there right now with them. So I have to got to go relieve her, hopefully.
Right on. Go get some rest. We'll see you tomorrow morning, everybody, at 9 a.m. on the Robb Carter Show. Have a great day, everybody.
See you guys.